touchdown! What a run! In the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff!
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores!
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome in. It's the Friday edition of 365 Sports. Smoky is off doing high school football tonight. Paul and Craig with you here. And Craig, just right off the bat, we can't show we're not legally allowed to show the highlight video of the fake field goal for East Carolina, but they beat Army last night 28-6. And one of those touchdowns was the fake field goal by a grad student walk-on who looks like he's 5'7". It was a fantastic, crazy play, and one of those things that, look, I know that you may not be the kind of fan who watches college football on a Thursday night when it's Army and East Carolina, but those are the kind of things that East Carolina seems to do all the time, and one of those cool stories that makes college football so great.
Yeah, no, it was a very fun moment, a very cool play, and great execution, and a nice win for East Carolina there against Army, who's now 1-3 on the year. So the Black Knights really struggling, 0-2 in the American now. So they've dug themselves a bit of a hole. And that was the big highlight of what was really like an overwhelming first quarter that then turned into like just football, and then boom, like this score at the end of the game, and then bam, the game's over with. Like that was kind of the tail of it. But Army is down in the dumps right now, and East Carolina, very, very cool. What was it? The young man's name, the Kyler Pearson. We got to shout out him, the holder for the 32-yard touchdown. So not just a touchdown, but a 32-yard scamper.
I don't like when you run a fake field goal from that far back, the only intent is to get the first down. Like, you don't call that play thinking that that's going to happen. And then once he got the first down and kept there was no one there and you just keep going. I wonder what it feels like to be in the end zone going, did that just happen? Mm-hmm. Did that absolutely just happen? Because it did. And so congrats to him. I'm sure he had the best night of his life last night in many different regards. Yeah,
I would think so. I mean, not often that he probably gets an opportunity to do something like that. So, very cool moment for him and for East Carolina, and nice to have a little Thursday college football action going on simultaneously with the NFL. So you got better odds of having something entertaining on, and then you got a couple different choices, and certainly a big difference between the NFL product and then East Carolina Army, just different vibes altogether, but football nonetheless. And you got a little bit of a crispness in the air that's starting to arrive here. It's not quite there. Like, it's still 92 degrees, but feels like the wind's blowing and chilling a little bit. And last night I was sitting there feet up and just kind of taking it in back and forth and all the action that was going on. And feels like fall, man, in a way, which is exciting, and it means we're starting to get really into the heart of this season. And it's also a little bit alarming because I look up and I go, damn, it's week 5. Like, we're already nearly at the halfway point at this stage. So I'm enjoying every minute of it that I can get.
Yeah, we got some big games to talk about today. One of those is Penn State and Oregon, which the Big Ten brought to you by Venmo. Venmo, I don't have cash on me. Is that the line? Is that their
I don't know. Is
tagline?
it John Mateer the spokesperson?
Yeah,
after a couple months ago.
Yeah. But brought to you by Venmo, and this is from Nicole Auerbach. They're calling this the Rivalry Series, which the Big Ten is trying to create this like rivalry thing, and they're going to award trophies. There's 17 games in the Rivalry Series. I'm not sure somebody told them that rivalry is not a game that's been played twice since 1954 or something like that, which the most recent one was last year. And now Penn State and Oregon, or they played 7 times since 1954. They played last year. They're not rivals, but I guess in these new conferences, Craig, you have to create new rivals.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about until I just looked it up here.
Yeah. Show the graphic.
I have no idea what we're even referring to, and I just looked it up. So I guess this was announced earlier today. Big Ten launching a rivalry series presented by Venmo that will include football, men's and women's basketball games. Kicks off tomorrow. So just, hey, by the way, we're starting this thing tomorrow. Penn State, Oregon, 17 designated games. So it says it'll shine a spotlight on some of college football's biggest matchups, like Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington. It's got the full schedule. And, Penn State, Oregon will kick it off. All 18 schools will be involved, 8 different rivalry trophy contests, including the Old Brass Spittoon, Floyd of Rosedale, and the Victory Bell. And it's not unlike, I guess, sort of Big 12 announcements where they've had new sponsors for like the cup at the end of the year for the best athletic department type of thing. It's a little light on details as far as like the overall point of this as I look through it. But if you can get a sponsor to give you more money and also try to ramp up rivalries, I guess that's not the worst business plan. No, but you got the point. They have a sponsor and they had to create something for it. I guess that's where I'm lost is like I'm trying to figure out the point of it, but now you put it that way. That's the point of it is Venmo said, what can y'all come up with? They're like, we can start a rivalry series this weekend. Okay. Because there's no like you get points and then it moves on kind of thing that I'm seeing here. It's just a list of games and that's the rivalry series. So it's basically what it was, but now with Venmo attached to it. So we're talking about them. I guess they're already getting their money's worth. But I don't see like any like trophy at the end of the road type of thing that you win. It's just a new sponsor, basically, for all your rivalry games. Yeah, I'll throw out another one. Slogan for Venmo. Venmo. Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. Venmo, the best way to tip a bartender at the wedding. Yeah. Venmo, make sure your transactions are on private if you need to make sure of that for those that may still not know after the John Mateer story. Yeah, Venmo, don't trust your friends from high school. Right. To pay you for the fantasy football pool and not put something ridiculous on there. Yeah, well, I mean, we know that there's no shortage of corporate sponsorships that are going to be involved with college athletics moving forward. It's a hot sport right now, no matter what people want to say about like the health of it overall. I mean, I see the media companies that have gone from barely talking about it, having maybe one show talking about it, to like full-fledged, like putting together an entire staff to just strictly talk college football, right? I mean, there's people that are investing heavily to cover the sport now. There's people that are pouring more and more money to obviously improve their own programs, and nobody really quite knows what the other side of the fence looks like here in 5 or so years when all the contracts come up, as we'll talk about. People, though, are thinking about that in Stillwater, at least right now. So we'll get to that in a moment. But it is funny because I do recall quite a few very snobby Big Ten fans. There's a couple in particular that just always seem to have a bitch about Brett Yormark and anything that he does. And it's funny because then they act so holier than thou about everything. And it's like, but y'all are the ones that are like, so either you're punching down or you're not as high and mighty as you pretend to be. Yeah. I think it's the latter, but nevertheless, I see people like really lose their minds over him. Like he's like the only guy trying to make money creation in college football right now. And like, he's like the leader of the SEC or something. It's like, dude, he's at best like the leader of the third best conference, which can be debated depending on when we're talking about it. And he's just trying to do what he can because he can't create new schools out of scratch that have 100 years of history and like $100 million endowment overnight. So like the only thing you can do is like try to create something new. And that really rubs people the wrong way. But then here's all historical, traditional, we do it the right way. Everybody should follow our lead Big Ten. And they're slapping Venmo on the rivalry series. So Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll go look for y'all's comments on that later on. I'm sure they're not at all biased, and I'm sure they're much the same way you talk about Brett Yormark. Probably not.
Let's if you want to talk about trying to create stuff that's bad for college football, the Big Ten is at the center of all of it right now. They're at the center of all of the. They've got a commissioner who is a TV executive who's trying to, MCU up college football. That's what he's trying to do with the playoff. Oh, okay, let's have the Avengers of college football in this league. Oh, let's do that. Let's do a movie about the Avengers second level sidekicks. Let's do this and this and this. And then if you look at what they're trying to do with the playoff, they're like, okay, instead of just like one through line of movie, we're gonna have movies and TV shows and all these other things. Well, yeah, let's have a 2018 playoff and all like.
Yeah, if they're doing
they're trying to do.
If they're doing the Avengers, they're doing like the 14th and 15th most important Avenger with their playoff ideas, because they're trying to just scoot in, anybody and everybody they can. And obviously their first choice to try and rig it their way and the SEC's way was not met the way they probably thought once the SEC said, no, we're not doing this either. So they went back to the drawing board. And then, yesterday we're talking about a 20 to 24 team playoff with everybody now having equal bids. Funny how that worked, because 2 months ago they were talking about we're going to have double the bids and it's going to be 16 or whatever. And so that was their next offer. And I know that they're trying to get their way. Everybody's trying to get their way. So not trying to really bog down the Big Ten. It's just funny. I see these comments, very flippant comments, very arrogant comments from certain people. It's always like the same 2 or 3 Big Ten fans. And again, they think like Brett Yormark's like Lex Luthor or something like that. And it's like, dude, I think he's a smart guy. I don't think he's like so far beyond our thinking that he's like rigging the future of college football to take it all down and like turn it in. I just think he's doing the best that he can with what he's got. And yeah, some of it's untraditional. I get why people aren't enthralled by WWE crossover, although it's been as harmless as a guy shows up at media day and does interviews.
Yeah.
And then a guy at the Big 12 championship game says, here's a title, just like you see in every pro sport. They've got these titles they wear on the parade routes now. That's what they've been doing and giving those out to like every major champion for the last several years, and even more so once they partner with Fanatics. So, it can be kind of weird, some of the attempts to create interest and maybe doesn't fall under the umbrella of everybody's favorite things about college football. But I think they give him far too much credit. And then it's just funny because they turn around and do not quite the same thing, but they also slap sponsorships on things and try to create something it's really just a bunch of games is what this looks like, that they're titling something special and important to make it feel that way. But hey, that's what everybody's trying to do, is they're trying to create revenue. And I don't blame the Big Ten, but I just don't want to hear the arrogance when you're pulling some of the same stuff. Yeah,
Penn State and Oregon are actually 2 of the schools, and to make this a rivalry kind of makes sense because they're 2 of the schools that don't, like even Oregon and USC, Oregon and they have Washington as a rival, but like as far as Penn State, when they made the original Big Ten schedule, they didn't have an every year rival, because even though they've been in the Big Ten for quite a long time, there's nobody that's a traditional rival for them. Like that's like the rivalry game. So even in realignment years past, Penn State lives in this kind of nebulous area of, we're rivals with a couple teams in the Big Ten, but none like their other rivals are. Like
they sure as hell aren't rivals with Oregon, who's the first game in this series. It's like it's a Oregon Penn State, this rivalry series in the Big Ten. What rivalry?
Yeah,
like this brand new one you just told us is a rivalry? Because Oregon Penn State has little to no history that I'm aware of, but this is the launching pad of the Big Ten rivalry series. Is this non-rivalry? Oh, well. And there's some other ones on here. Like, I'm aware of the ones that have the trophies next to them. But, I don't know much about Maryland Rutgers and their history, or Michigan Maryland, or, I don't know about some of these other ones. They might have histories. I'm not trying to even dunk on it. I'm not aware of like how important they are. But certainly the ones that have the trophies next to them, it's just trying to put lipstick on just a makeupless face, basically, and just try to spruce it up a little bit and make some extra money is all it is. So everybody's doing it for the most part, and they're no different. So here we are.
Yeah. All right. This is an interesting story, and we all kind of knew this was going to happen, Craig, and somebody was going to try it. The thing is, Virginia Tech is the first over the wall. This was from Darren Heitner. I am shocked by Virginia Tech's untenable position that a decision to redshirt constitutes opting out and fraudulent misrepresentation under the NCAA's bylaws. Basically, I mean, you can read all this. He's representing a Hokies player who has redshirted and has decided to transfer, which he can legally do under the 30-day window to transfer because Brent Pry has been fired. And so Virginia Tech has decided to pull his rev share contract because he's not going to finish out the season. This is one of those things that if collective bargaining would had happened in college football, in college athletics, you wouldn't have to worry about. And I'm not surprised to see a school try it. The problem is that schools can and parties can say, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But what are they contractually obligated to do? And what is spelled out in there? If taking a red shirt because the coach you came to play for got fired and jumping in the portal is not specifically written out in the rev share agreements, then they're going to have to pay the kid anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, the details are important here. So I think I saw a lot of people sort of reacting to just headlines, imagine that, and not really understanding the situation. So you have this story where, yes, Brent Pry gets fired, so everybody now has 30 days to go jump in the transfer portal for whoever chooses to do so. There's nothing the schools can do about that, but there is a Virginia Tech player whose name we're not aware of, at least last I looked. This was somebody who had not been named, has decided that he wants to redshirt. And so Virginia Tech decides that, okay, well, if you do that, we're not going to give you any of your rev share money. And that's where Darren Heitner comes in, is that people are going, well, hell, if you're redshirting and you're quitting basically on the team and you're declaring your intent to like not be a part of this. And Darren Heitner clarified, like, this guy's not saying he's going in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. He's on the team. He's just taking a red shirt, but he intends to stay with the team. That's what Darren Heitner says. Now, I trust him about as far as I could throw him. He doesn't look like the biggest guy in the world, so maybe I could toss him a couple feet. I don't know. But I'm just saying I don't trust any lawyers really, especially in this kind of greasy NIL game. But that's a very important point of clarification. If the guy's like, no, I'm not trying to go anywhere, but I just don't want to lose a year of eligibility to this washed year with this interim coaching staff, like, I don't blame somebody doing that. It also would depend on knowing, like, who this guy is. Like, is he a starter? Yeah. That's all of a sudden you're missing a big piece, or is he a guy who is going to play like maybe 4 games anyways and it doesn't really matter? I mean, that would probably make the story a little clearer on kind of the motivations behind this. But yeah, so he wants to redshirt. They're saying, well, if you're going to redshirt, we're not giving you your money. And this his attorney is saying that it's not an intent to go to the transfer portal. So that kind of makes it a bit of a difference. Like, so what do you do in that situation? If he's trying to stay, like, you technically still owe him his money. If he's trying to go in the portal, that's one thing, but he's not trying to go to the portal. Yeah. So I think the player has a valid case of, I'm still trying to be here, but we agreed to this, and so I'm not going anywhere. Why would I not get this money? Unless there was language in this contract that said, well, if you choose to redshirt, then you don't get this money. But if there's not that, then I don't see Virginia Tech's position here, really. Yeah. I would if it would be very clear cut if he said, yeah, I want to go in the transfer portal and I want to get my money too. Well, then hell no, that's not going to happen. And I think that's how everybody's reacting to this story that I've seen, is like, where do you get off? But no, that's not the case. So that's what Darren Heitner's response is into, and why he's shocked and all of that. So yeah, he's saying redshirt doesn't mean you're opting out, and technically he's correct. Yeah, until he opts out, he's not opted out. Right, yeah. So he's just choosing a red shirt, which is no different than a lot of guys across the country. And again, I guess it would depend on who this guy is as to the importance of him taking said red shirt. But if it's an important year of eligibility for me, or I feel like maybe I can make more money and I've got a lame duck coaching staff, like, yeah, I would not be surprised if guys are trying to do what's best for them. Of course not. So, yeah, he said these just choosing to take a red shirt, not entering the portal, hopes to remain with the program through the coaching change. That's the last I saw any update on it. So no surprise to see who's involved in another, like, where do we push the envelope, or how can we push the envelope, and what does that look like? it's always kind of the same 3 or 4 names that are always in a dust up with the NCAA over their rules. So Darren Heitner now, I guess, will help provide us some rev share red shirt rules that we'll need to now abide by. So yeah, there you go with that.
But again, and it doesn't surprise me that there is, because just looking at Ross Dellinger, like everybody who's reported on this specific thing of, do you get your rev share if you go in the portal mid-season? Like, this specific thing doesn't seem like it's been worked out yet.
No, clearly not. So, and this isn't even that, but yeah, it at least is popping the top off of going, well, hell, now we'd probably need to figure out if that's
So this is the NCAA and the way that they make rules is they don't play out every scenario.
No, they don't cross T's or dot I's ever,
so they don't, like, nobody sits in a room and goes, okay, well, let's say a coach gets fired, a guy redshirts and goes in the portal. What does a revenue share contract say about that? Like, they're like, that'll never happen, or like they don't even consider it. That's where, like, this is just like some of it. Maybe just have some podcasters in a room, because we have to spend off season speculating on stuff like this, and we'll just give them some of our topics of, hey, what happens here? And then just let the people who are actual legal minds do it, because then we might have better ideas than they do.
Hell, why do that when you can just sit back and let them create new cases for you? Basically, but seriously though, if you're that lawyer, like, don't help them unless they're paying you good money to. Until they do, just sit back and let them walk into mine after mine after mine of, oh, well, we didn't think about that. Crap. Oh, dang, we didn't think about that either. Dang. So yeah, they are not good about or looking forward and figuring out what loose ends might not need to be tied up, so that they're not loose ends and in the way down the line. But this is a loose end clearly that will now be tested and figured out somehow. But yeah, if the player's not leaving the program, I don't see the issue. But then how do you ensure he doesn't leave the program this offseason after he gets his money? That would be where I'm Virginia Tech and I'm going, I know what his intent is, but if we pay him and then he leaves in the summertime or something, like, how does all that work? I don't know. That's the lawyer stuff that my brain starts to hurt about, and it's not why we cover this sport, but it is a part of it now, so I get it. But yeah, that's what I would want to know if I'm Virginia Tech, is how do you ensure the next coach even wants this guy on the team too? Yeah. So there's also that. You might as well just be better off going like, guess what, bud? You're not going to redshirt. You're just not going to play here anymore. So there's the end of our agreement. That might be the simplest solution.
Yeah, I know. That's wild. Okay, so a couple of quick injury notes I wanted to go through. Caden Durham, LSU running back, trending in the right direction to be available Saturday at Ole Miss. Linebacker Wes Weeks and tight end Trey'Dez Green are also are set to return in that one. Trinidad Chambliss, expected to make his third straight start. I believe we talked about that early in the week. That's pretty big. Jam Miller, running back for Alabama, and defensive tackle Tim Keenan, returning this week against Georgia. They have not had those guys for a long time, especially I don't think Tim Keenan's played this year, and that's been a big thing for them as well. A&M linebacker Scooby Williams, game time decision. Let's see. Anything else of note? Tommy Castellanos is probable tonight. He left the game early, but they were already up by $1 billion. No Kavorian Barnes tonight, Craig. You talked about that. And Dante Corleone, questionable on the injury report yesterday ahead of Kansas, and not having him would be big for them, considering it. Kansas, while they haven't run the ball as well as they have in the past, is still trying to do it. And if he's not there, then that's going to make it harder for the Bearcats to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been missing some time here, so trying to get him healthy, and this would be a nice game to be able to have him back. But I guess good news is that you're, I guess, getting closer to the point where he's getting back to his full health, and there's still plenty of season left to play, so that bodes well for Cincinnati, given he's such a huge part of their nucleus there. But, yeah, I mean, that sounds like great news for LSU, getting those guys back. Ought to be a hell of a game. I mean, there's a couple big bangers in the SEC this weekend for sure. So, yeah, definitely sounds like good news for them. I think we did talk about the Chambliss deal. No surprise there that he's starting. I'm rolling with Ole Miss in that game. Very, very curious how that all plays out. And, yeah, I think all that sounds like good news for the most part, based on what you ran down there.
Yep. And the most important injury news in this room for anyone, John Mateer, his surgery was successful, and we'll see when he comes back, Craig. I mean, they're hoping a month and optimistic that maybe he's back by Red River, but I think that would be really, really optimistic since that's 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the body can work miracles sometimes, so maybe he's a fast healer. I don't know. I'm not banking or setting myself up with any expectations. I'm just saying, hey, he's out for a month, so when that date rolls around, then I'll be expecting to hear some news on how close he is, but I'm not anticipating anything earlier than that. So if anything does occur earlier than that and he magically heals in like 3 weeks and can play against Texas, then that's awesome, but I'm not expecting it. And that's unfortunate because that's a game where those two are as good as they've been simultaneously in a couple years, with a terrific quarterback matchup on paper, and just the fun of speculating that game. You take Mateer out of that equation, and I think Oklahoma's still a solid team, but man, it makes a world of difference in what they do. So yeah, it just sucks, man, especially for a guy who was off to such a nice start, Heisman front runner, according to many. And to now be out for at least a couple, if not 3-4 games, is a real bummer. So just glad it's not season ending. It could always be worse, I suppose. But yeah, if he misses that Texas game, that's gonna really piss me off. But I'm expecting that'll be the case at this point.
Look, they're off this week, right? And then they have a game. They have another game next week before Red River, and so that gives Michael Hawkins 2 weeks to kind of get ready to be the guy for the short time. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yay. I mean, look, man, we saw a lot of him last year. He's like a lot of quarterbacks. You initially see him and nobody's prepared for him. Like, oh, okay. And then somebody has a whole week to get ready for him. And then you see him in like from play 1 to play 100. And it's a little bit different than that spurt of time where he came in and was just electric when you needed him most. But I'd assume Michael Hawkins is a better player than he was a year ago. He's had a whole another year to improve. I think he's capable certainly of handling Kent State next weekend. And then after that, it's Red River. So, I mean, there's not a lot of time. Yeah, they're off this weekend, but we're already into the weekend. So there's really, 2 weeks to Red River at this point. So, yeah, I don't think John Mateer is going to play. So hopefully Hawkins looks sharp and is ready for the challenge that awaits, because Kent State won't show us everything. But right after that, it is UT. It's South Carolina on the road. It's Ole Miss. It's Tennessee. It's Alabama. So Mateer's going to come back at some point right in the sweet spot of a stretch run that's going to be really, really tough for the Sooners, regardless of his health or not. So, yeah, rest up and get back as quickly as possible, but don't lose the back half of the season because you tried to rush back for this one game in the middle of the season. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got a couple of things we'll get to when we after Graham Coffee from Dog Central, but he's coming up next. We're going to talk Georgia and Bama with Graham Coffee of Dog Central. This is 365 Sports.
PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Hi, this is David Smoak. Symptoms of low testosterone. The one that gets a lot of the attention is your sex drive. It's just not the same. Or if it is, you're not performing. You're having problems. And that could be one or the other. And that, of course, is never good. Your sleep habits aren't the same. Your energy is down. You just don't feel right. You're lethargic when you've never been that way before. And yes, there's a possibility of your diet or fitness or whatever else, and just a lot in your mind that can create some of that too. Stress, anxiety. But if your testosterone level is too low, wouldn't you like to know about it? 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and maybe that's you. Contact them. Tell them I sent you. And Dr. Petty will set you up to get your blood work. Take care of that for you. Get the results, get back in touch with you. And if your testosterone level is too low, he could put you in a program so you could become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
My go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's back 0% for 72 months on all 2025 Ram 1500 trucks during the Drive into Fall event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Check out a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with a massive $16,000 off, or a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $12,000 off, and both at 3.9 for 72 months. And if you drive a Ford, Toyota, or GM, get an extra $1,500 bonus cash. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Summer's heating up, but Bird Coaching Ford is freezing the prices.
Right now, get 0% APR for 48 months, 0 down, and no payments for 90 days.
Cool off with us in our freezing showroom and catch a hot deal before summer's over.
Whether it's an F-150, Explorer, or Escape, we've got the perfect deal waiting for you.
Whew. Texas weather can be crazy. Shop anytime inside our showroom or at bkford.com. Experience better at Bird Coaching Ford.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. Graham Coffee Dog Central joins us now. And Graham, this Georgia-Alabama game last year was on cocaine. Like, it was absolutely just the most ridiculous game, and went back and forth. Ultimately, didn't end the way that Georgia fans wanted it to, but that was one of the most ridiculous things you're ever going to see. Gunner Stockton takes over at quarterback now this year, and I think everybody was kind of waiting for, this is the guy who's finally going to pop the bubble of not being this super blue chip, and Kirby, it's not going to work out. And he's been fantastic, and everybody around him has been pretty fantastic. What is the vibe around the team now that he is clearly the leader, clearly in charge, and they kind of feel – I don't think anybody's ever going to feel like the previous pre-NIL and transfer portal powerhouses again, but they feel like Georgia again to me.
Yeah, I think Georgia came out of the 2024 season and looked around and felt like, hey, we just had 3 interior linemen drafted by the NFL. We just had, couple defensive front 7 players go in the first 15 picks. Like, we had all this talent here, and yes, we had wide receiver problems. But why didn't we get more out of this talent? I know they won an SEC championship last year, but everything for Georgia felt like a slog. And there was just a different, I think, vibe kind of feeling around the team for those of us covering it day to day. So I think that it got to a point for them where they kind of said, hey, we want to make sure that football is the most important thing. I think they felt like some of the effects of NIL had set in, and Gunnar Stockton was the answer to that for Georgia. I think there were people that thought they would go into the portal. They did not. They, got to see him in that second half against Texas and in that Sugar Bowl game against Notre Dame that Georgia lost, but Stockton actually played pretty well in. And I think that they felt comfortable moving forward with him. And just in terms of who he is, like, you're not going to hear college football players slam their quarterback, right? So I'm not like sitting here saying that his receivers and defensive guys talking well about him is like a groundbreaking thing, but they do talk about him a bit differently and with a little more reverence than you hear a normal football player talk about a teammate. And there's just a kind of a work ethic there and a steadiness to him that I think Georgia needed right now. And I think it's kind of been easy for the rest of the team to follow him. Even if it didn't require him being a super vocal guy necessarily at times to make that happen. So I just kind of think he's the right guy for Georgia at the right time and sort of this steady presence who is about the right things and really like is focused on the here and now. His dream is playing for Georgia. It's not necessarily I want to go on and get to the NFL. And so I think that has kind of made things for Georgia feel a little bit more just cohesive in a way that they haven't maybe since 2023.
So from one big road game to now a big home game, 2 weeks to prepare, what's been kind of the common, I guess, theme or the general discussion? What has it revolved around in terms of getting ready for the Crimson Tide here?
Yeah, I think that for Georgia, the theme is definitely there's tons of focus on this secondary. Tennessee had a lot of success, 21 points in the first quarter, 15 of 15 passing for Joey Aguilar. I mean, it was insane to watch from the press box. So I think that, there's concern on the Georgia side of how do we make sure we don't let this happen again. You also talk to people and they'll tell you preparing for Tennessee's offense is so different than preparing for a normal offense. So I think there's kind of some optimism on that front that we can tighten some things up. We've had a bye week. So, they are going to probably show some different looks defensively. Ty Simpson is super hot, right? Kirby Smart said it this week. He might be the hottest quarterback in America. He's making some throws, especially against some coverage right now that are really, really high level and kind of like throws that you can't really defend if they're as well placed as some of the ones that he's delivered have been. So I think if you're Georgia, you got to try and move this guy off of his spot and make him a little more uncomfortable than he looked against Wisconsin or ULM. So they will try to do that without putting their secondary into bad spots, which is kind of, hard to do in football. You only get 11 guys. So how many are you going to commit to the rush? How many are you going to leave back? I think that's the question. And then on the offensive side of the ball, that the right side of the OL was a struggle spot for them in Knoxville. They lost Ernest Green, the right tackle, to injury early in that game. They had a guy come in, Michael Uni, and struggle. And so they went with the kid Bo Hughley for the last couple drives, and that was able to work out for them. But they will not have Green back for this game. So we're expecting to see Hughley and maybe a guy, Juan Gaston, at right guard, who, is played right guard so far this year. He's also a freshman. Hughley is an upperclassman, but Gaston's like a 365 pounder. And we'll see if they kind of put him out there at right tackle some if Hughley struggles. We're not entirely sure what the rotation will look like, but I think they've got a few different guys ready to go depending on how things play out.
What do you expect from this Alabama team now? Florida State had their number every which way but loose for most of that game, first off. But I think Florida State snuck up on everybody. I mean, like, absolutely. People didn't realize, like, how much work they'd really done to reset the deck there. But also, Ty Simpson, if you watch that film, he didn't look terrible. He just looked that they'd figured it out. And then the last couple games, he's looked like an Alabama quarterback. They've looked like Alabama. Their offense is big. Is that because of their opponents, or have they maybe figured it out and this is a game that people should take as serious as you would in any normal Georgia-Alabama game?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everybody should be as serious as you can be about this game. I mean, like, there's going to be a lot of talent on this field. I mean, Alabama is still the number one blue chip ratio program in America, right? Georgia is number 3. So, like, you're not going to watch a football game in the regular season this year that has more on paper talent on the field than you will on Saturday night when Georgia and Alabama play. I think that Simpson, like your first real start and you're on the road in Tallahassee at a program that kind of blames you for how things went south for them when they missed the playoff. Like that crowd smelled blood and they got into it early, and that defense smelled blood, and they got him moving off of his spot. So I think, for Georgia, like they didn't really pressure Joey Aguilar super frequently, but when you saw him get back there, when he dropped back for deeper throws, I think he had like 6 pass attempts of 20 plus yards. Georgia got home on like 4 of those. He completed a bunch of them, which is just kind of the variance of football. But I do think, Georgia probably feels coming into this game like we're going to need to have some pressure packages, and we're going to have some fresh things cooked up to throw at this guy. So I will see, I'm interested to see sort of what that looks like. But I think Ty Simpson, like if you let him sit back there and look comfortable, he's going to pick you guys up. Like he has been making throws that you turn on the film and you're just like, man, okay, you just squeeze this, over a linebacker, under a safety, not a big window. And, you just look totally chill and relaxed doing it. It's in the perfect spot where only your guy's gonna catch it. Like there's no defense, honestly, for some of those throws. So Georgia better not give him time to make some of these kind of slow developing routes outside to Ryan Williams like he did last week.
So, Graham, the SEC released their annual opponents that'll be occurring over the next 4 years, and there's been a lot of back and forth from every fan base. I was wondering what's been the reception to Georgia drawing Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina? And as somebody who's not knee-deep in all things Georgia, where's Alabama on the list when it comes to modern-day rivalries?
Yeah, I think the Auburn and Florida, those two were expected and given. I think there would have been a lot of outrage if those two had not been on the list. The South Carolina one, I think there's been some mixed emotions around that. I think South Carolina considers Georgia a bigger rival than Georgia considers South Carolina. It is a border war, but Georgia also shares a border with Tennessee and Alabama and Florida and, lots of states. So I think that they look at it and they say kind of, hey, this is what we're doing for 4 years. I think they're fine with that. That's been a competitive series just in the sense of it produces good games. Georgia's won more often than not over the last kind of 15 years, but South Carolina's had Georgia's number at periods of time. So I think that they're fine with it. I think the complaint on the scheduling from Georgia's side is just kind of, you look at some of the 3 that other top programs in the SEC got, maybe they're not as competitive. The way this kind of has been organized, Georgia's going to go to Texas in 2027 they're going to go to Texas next year in 2026 after being there last year in 2024. And then Texas is not going to come back to Athens until 28. So they're going to play 2 for 1 with Texas. So there's just some of that weird kind of stuff that everybody's like, how did this decision get made? Georgia's got to go back to Tuscaloosa as well on a 2 for 1. So I think that's the big complaint from Georgia people. And I think that Georgia fans would like to have the series with Tennessee be a yearly thing. And then I think there's some Georgia fans who would be like, hey, give us Vanderbilt. South Carolina's a program that was pretty good last year. They're struggling right now, but they have talent. They can sneak up and bite you. Like Vanderbilt's great right now too, but how about Kentucky? I think they want one of those kind of traditional East rivals. So there's never any agreement on that type of thing. But yeah, what was you had a second question? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Where's Alabama in terms of the pecking order of Georgia rivals?
Yeah, I think right now for this generation, if you talk to a Georgia fan who's in college today, they would tell you number 1 because they came of age kind of in watching the 2017 national title, 2nd and 26, the Tua to Devontae Smith play, and they've sort of been the misery stick for Georgia, like really for a long time. I know Georgia got that national title game win over them, and that one is really important. But, you go back, right? 2008, Georgia's preseason #1 in the country. Alabama comes to town. Georgia blacks out the stadium. It's Nick Saban's second year. They go up 31-0 on Georgia. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that that's the worst night ever in Sanford Stadium. So you have those stories. You have the 2015 game in the rain that kind of ended Mark Richt's tenure. I think it's a game that a lot of people – I don't know they want to play it every year necessarily, but I do think that if you told them to make a list of teams that you want to beat most right now, especially with Florida and Auburn kind of struggling here in the last few years, Alabama's probably #1 on that list for a lot of Georgia fans.
Graham, Georgia wins the game if they do what tomorrow?
Georgia wins the game if they stop the run. In Alabama, they get Jam Miller back, who's a fabulous running back. He beat Georgia on a wheel route for a receiving touchdown last year in Tuscaloosa as they started that game on that insane run. But they have not run the ball super well. The Florida State game, there were some times where Simpson was able to manufacture some scrambles. But against Wisconsin, they ran the ball for 71 yards, and about half of that was Ty Simpson scrambling off of passing plays, not even really designed runs for him. So I think if you get one-dimensional against Georgia and you have Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, the brain trust there defensively, they generally have ways to make you very uncomfortable. And if you get behind the chains against Georgia, they have ways to make you uncomfortable. This offensive line for Alabama has not looked spectacular. It certainly didn't look very great in Tallahassee. I expect it to look better in this game. I expect everyone to kind of give their best on both sides in this game because of the magnitude and the stage. But I just don't think you beat Georgia unless you're like 2019 LSU, unless Ty Simpson is Joe Burrow walking through that door with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And hey, maybe he is, right? Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, those guys are incredible receivers, but a lot of what they do in the pass game takes time to develop. They're not bombing it down the field. They're more timing routes intermediately. So I think if Georgia knows those are coming and they have time to blitz and they have, the ability to kind of do some things where they're not worried about what happens with gap responsibility, then Alabama's probably going to be in trouble and Ty Simpson's going to be running around trying to throw on the run. And I don't think that's his game, honestly.
Graham, enjoy the game tomorrow between the hedges. Should be another great one. Graham
Absolutely.
Coffey, Dog Central. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. Do we have Zach? Is he in the room? All right, let's just go right to Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com, who I do love dearly in spite of my old man memory that's getting to me, Zach, but we won't push you back again. This is a fantastic weekend of games, is it not?
Yeah, and I think it feels like there's been one light week, but so far this college football season has been incredible, and it feels like we're really still just getting started. But I think the getting the multi-view going of Oregon, Penn State, and Georgia, Alabama, that's going to be probably the peak 3.5-hour experience of this season so far.
Yeah, that's going to be sweet, man. Of course, we all love the games. That's ultimately why we love the sport, the pageantry as well. But we also love the dirt and the craziness. And certainly we had some of that earlier this week with the Mike Gundy firing, Zach, which I'm sure you guys have been all over. And I've seen some of what you guys have out there. I'm just curious, what kind of is the discussion behind the scenes or coaches that you talk to, people that you talk to about the interest in Oklahoma State? And obviously your reaction when you saw the news and just kind of how all this works moving forward.
I'll start with the timing of it was very strange because I fully expected to wake up Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday morning with an announcement, and obviously that came and went and did not happen. And they allowed Mike Gundy to hold his regular press conference Monday, in which he went on there and said they're going to have to fire. I'm going to do this until someone else tells me that we don't want you to do it. And then 24 hours later, someone else said we don't want you to do it. So I fully expect Mike Gundy to coach again based off of what we heard from him on Monday. Where that is, I have no idea. But Oklahoma State does not seem like it has its ducks in a row, to put it lightly. So that would be concerning to me if I'm a if I'm a prospective head coach. But what would be encouraging to me is the fact that Oklahoma State played that game after their worst loss in program history. The program's down as it's ever been. A Friday night game against Tulsa, and that stadium was full or close enough to it. So that tells me that what Mike Gundy has really built there in the last 21 years is going to endure past him. And there are a lot worse places to be. Look at UCLA. So there's going to be real interest in this. There's an offensive coordinator for a program that's trying to win a national championship right now that is interested in that job. No idea if he'll get it. I think they need to go offense. I think they need to go with someone with connections around here, both for recruiting reasons and portal reasons. But I think Oklahoma State will be okay. I mean, it certainly can't get worse.
Well, Zach, I'm sure you've heard the same things we are. It wasn't that they don't have money. It's that he didn't really kind of go after it in the way that most of the other programs just in the Big 12 are when it came to NIL. He dug his heels in and kind of had to get dragged into it. And then when he finally had to kind of agree to spend the money on NIL, the damage had kind of already been done, hadn't it?
Yeah, and so I go back to the previous question of the timing. He probably should have been let go after the last season. They ended with a 52-0 loss to Colorado on Black Friday, and they tried to fire him, and they ended up working out a reduction in his contract. He gave $1 million back to NIL, but I mean, it was obvious from his lack of effort that he was quitting on the job in regards to roster building as it's done in 2025. But there was no one within or without the building that had the gravitas to either force Mike Gundy to do something he didn't want to do or to force him out until the program truly hit rock bottom. So that was Oklahoma State's mistake, was allowing him to accumulate so much capital inside the building that he could just sit on his hands for years on end. I mean, he said over the summer that this most recent portal class was the first one they ever bought. He said that it took 18 months or so for him to realize that the NIL was not going away, which is a bit like, being in our business and being like, what's this social media thing? You're not engaging with the fundamental aspects of your job at this point.
So you mentioned some of the banger games ranked that we have this weekend. Which one's top of mind for you?
I think Alabama, Georgia. Oregon, Penn State means the most to Penn State, but Penn State's dropped games to top 6 teams and made the playoff anyway, so what does it matter? But I think Alabama, Georgia is going to be an incredible scene. So I tweeted out there, if anybody cares to see. So I have great memories of the last time Alabama played inside Sanford Stadium, and I remember that game so well because I was in a hospital room with my wife and my 1-day-old son because he was born the previous night, and we weren't – obviously you can't leave for 24 hours, so we're kind of just killing time so we could leave. So my wife is recovering, and I'm watching Alabama beat the brakes off Georgia in the driving rainstorm. Well, obviously that child turns 10 years old next week. So this is not a scene that we get very often, and I'm very interested in the physical aspects of this game and the psychological aspects of this game. Kirby Smart can't beat Alabama. Alabama can't win on the road. One of those things is going to break on Saturday night.
You mentioned it. I went and looked. See your kiddo, the Alito uniform on. It's a great program. Obviously, very, very cool. Like, is he a dog or a type? Like, did he get indoctrinated immediately because this game was on? Like, he's just. I'm an SEC fan now. Like,
you know what? He is a Baltimore Ravens. He is fallen in love with Lamar Jackson and loves him more than anything in his life. So he's a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan. The Monday morning when they lost to the Bills to open the season was not easy to get him to school that day.
Hey, not a bad choice though. Not a bad choice at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you can pick far less fun guys to watch every week. Zach, I'm curious in your thoughts on Auburn versus A&M. We haven't gotten to talk about it yet, but you wrote a column about it. Auburn is still complaining about that call on the Oklahoma game 6 days later now. They're still mad about it. And look, their fans are going to be mad about it until the end of time, but these things happen. And it wasn't malicious on the officials' part. It was a mistake. And they admitted it, and they're moving on. But A&M has to follow up their biggest win in 50 years, possibly, winning it on the road in Notre Dame. Where do you see this clash heading on Saturday?
So I think there's been a lot of talk of battered Aggie syndrome and curses around that program. We're all very familiar with it. And I would say, as a longtime observer of Texas A&M football, the most Texas A&M football thing to happen would be you get a program-changing monumental win on the road at Notre Dame at night in the most un-A&M win way possible, and then turn around and lose to Auburn in your conference opener. That would be the ultimate A&M thing to happen. I don't think that's going to happen because what I saw from Jackson Arnold was the same. He's the same guy he was at Oklahoma. Last season, no team in college football took more sacks than Oklahoma. And obviously Jackson Arnold didn't play in every game because of his own failings. We don't need to go into there. But so far this season, Auburn's third to last in sacks allowed. There's one common link there, and it's Jackson Arnold. So if you have such a glaring issue with your quarterback that you weren't able to fix in the offseason, I don't think you're able to fix it in 6 days either. So is he going to be sacked 10 times by an A&M front that's not as good as the Oklahoma front? Of course not. But obviously Michael Elko is going to be well aware of what Auburn does well, and that's run their quarterback and throw it up to number 8, and what they do not do well. So I think A&M wins the game. I think A&M is able to hit some big plays in the pass game. They're as explosive as anyone in the pass game. They're maybe not super efficient, but they are incredibly explosive. And I think A&M wins probably closer than every Aggie fan would like it to be, but it'll be a 4-quarter game, but A&M will win it.
Zach Barnett, Football Scoop. Zach, you wrote also about the FCS playoff maybe going private. Do you think that's a good decision for them?
I think it could be, because we know that the NCAA does not value its championships in the way that it probably should. There was a big controversy. It was the 2021 COVID NCAA tournament when the women were rightfully up in arms at how poorly they were treated compared to the men. And then there was additional coming out of that was just how undervalued they were. And so the ESPN has since bought the rights to NCAA championships for $110 million, and it was $34 million. So the NCAA does not have a great track record of exacting the maximum value for its championship events. And so I think if you're a FCS administrator, you're not wrong to think, we could probably make more money than the NCAA is if we actually tried on our behalf to sell this for as much money as we possibly can, like our colleagues do in the FBS. I'm not going to instantly say it's a great idea, but I think it's worth exploring for them.
Yeah, Zach, I was on the Zoom call of that NCAA tournament in 2021 where they had to sit there and admit what they did, and they were not ready for the smoke that came to them. And you're like, so you're telling me that you've got 64 teams worth of athletes here, and you have a Nautilus machine and a bench in a ballroom. Whose idea was that? And they're like, we're not going to drill down into whose idea it was. And you're like, well, you would think you'd need more than a Nautilus, a treadmill, and a bench. That seems to be a little bit more. So when you said that, I was trying not to laugh the whole time, not because I was laughing at because it was next level incompetence, and it was insane.
I try to defend the NCAA because what it is a punching bag. It's a nondescript orbital blue disc that exists to be punched. And a lot of what the NCAA does is enforce rules that its schools write and pass, and then purposely allow the screaming to go at the NCAA, not the universities. But how can you defend something like that?
No, it's ridiculous. Zach, thank you so much for hopping back a little bit. We'll talk to you again next week at 3:30.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Zach Barnett, Football Scoop. Alyssa Brandon, O'Collie TV.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to mention something real quick.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Big Ten rivalry series earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't know where else to interject this, honestly. You know what game's missing from the Big Ten rivalry series?
The game?
Ohio State, Michigan is not in the Big Ten rivalry series. I went back during the commercial break and was just looking at the original announcement to see if there was anything that we didn't mention that was like notable, because I hadn't seen what you had referred to until we started talking about it. So I was kind of talking through it on air, and there are a bunch of Big Ten fans that are just panning the hell out of this thing. Like, oh yeah, that historic rivalry, Penn State and Oregon, they played all of twice, and quit trying to make fetch happen with Penn State and Oregon. And, a lot of those types of comments, a lot of knocking on, like, I don't know what one of them was, like Maryland Rutgers or something like that, or maybe it was somebody different. But a game featuring, I think it was Rutgers, that's not a rivalry. But yeah, it didn't dawn on me until somebody rightfully pointed out, how do you have a Big Ten rivalry series with no Ohio State, Michigan on the Big Ten rivalry series? That's crazy. Yeah. But I'm so optimistic about the future of this country, seeing the number of Big Ten fans that, instead of being Team Homer, like everybody loves to do nowadays, like my brand can do no wrong, and when we do wrong, we just pretend it didn't happen. I love the number of Big Ten fans are like, this is a crock, this is stupid, this is goofy, and this is a money grab. It makes me still have faith in humanity, that even the folks who could typically be the diehards are going, no, this is BS. Like, thank you. We need people like that to call out the BS. So, yeah, thanks for those Big Ten fans for doing that. But, yeah, that's an hilarious note that of all the games to not have on the Big Ten rivalries, it's the biggest rivalry in the entire country, especially out of the Big Ten.
Yeah, one of the most important life lessons that you can learn is no one's right about everything.
Exactly.
And the people are wrong. You're right, you're wrong. You celebrate your rights, you correct your wrongs. Like, that's what you have to do.
I can admit that basketball in Mexico, maybe not the greatest idea. Yeah. I don't have to think that it's the greatest idea. I don't think it's that cool, maybe. I don't know, but that's my opinion. So, yeah, you don't have to just go along with everything.
And look, here's the deal. If it works out,
hey,
you can be like, hey, well, I was
wrong.
Yeah.
Hey,
heck, that
look,
works.
I'm still breathing. I was wrong, but I'm still, things still work. Okay, wow, no harm done.
Yeah.
No big deal. But yeah, I didn't know what the reaction would be because I hadn't looked much into it, and they basically reacted like we did.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. When we come back, Alyssa Brandon, Ocali TV, We Know Ball podcast. She's going to talk Oklahoma State with us. She is currently a student at Oklahoma State as well. So she's going to give us the vibe of how campus is going in the wake of Mike Gundy's firing. This is 365 Sports.
Baylor Club quiet this weekend, no football game, but it's always busy because of what they do. One, great food, the amenities of being a member at the Baylor Club. In fact, on October 7th, they put out a picture on their Facebook page with all sorts of entrees, including, you can see, asparagus, along with a beautiful, beautiful steak, a filet. And then on top of that, lobster, shrimp, and more, salads and vegetables, and what drinks you want to. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco. They have a game next weekend on Saturday, 11 o'clock kick against Kansas State. Don't forget, they always have the Knox Hall tailgate with so much going on, festivities, games, prizes, and fantastic tailgate food. Nick Colwell, the general manager, the renovated Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. Memberships available, and tell them that 365 Sports sent you off I-35 in Waco.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. Paul, Catalina, Craig, Smoak, and Alyssa Brandon. Who we met her at Big 12 Media Day. She's with Ocali TV and the We Know Ball podcast. Alyssa, you're at Oklahoma State covering the game this week. You're currently a student there, as I said before the break. What has been the vibe on campus from the students about the Mike Gundy firing? He was popular for a long time, but they haven't been winning for the last couple of years. And he's been let go, and it's the end of an era there in Stillwater. What's been the feeling on campus?
Yeah, I'd say there's lots of mixed emotions right now, but two of the main feelings, I think, are shock and disbelief. Obviously, we knew some of this was coming, but we didn't expect it to happen kind of on a Tuesday. And when the news dropped, I was actually doing my show right when the news dropped. My phone was blowing up, and I was like, guys, we gotta talk about this. We got to get on it. But a lot of the student body, I think, is eager for the next era to be brought through. I mean, Mike Gundy has been here and he's been a great coach, and there's no disrespect to his legacy, everything he's done for college football. But he was kind of behind the eight ball just a little bit on spending for NIL. And I think Oklahoma State's record last year and then their start to this year has kind of been evidence of that. In the last 2 years, he's kind of ramped up. But I think I talked to a lot of students that were like, look, we just want to get a young guy in here. We want to get a guy that has a bright and new vision for what he can do in this new era of the sport. And so, yeah, the real big shock there was just kind of the timing, in that he wasn't really led out to have this retirement tour or great last season where he could truly finish up like a lot of people thought he deserved to have. So that was kind of just the surprising part there, I think, for a lot of the students.
So, Alyssa, when this news dropped after that initial shock you're talking about, I thought, man, Baylor's walking into a hornet's nest this weekend, because last weekend everybody was there. It was an incredible crowd for a game against Tulsa that they ended up losing, and a great final crowd for Gundy. Unfortunate result, but they showed their support right there in that moment. And now, as you mentioned, everybody's excited because you're playing with house money. Like, no matter what, that there's new fun stuff that's on the horizon. So how much do you think that it's just going to be kind of let it all hang out this weekend and people are just going to be there because, like, what's the worst that can happen kind of a vibe?
Yeah, you got it exactly right. Everyone that I've talked to is like, look, we're just going to go and we're going to have fun and we're excited to see something different. So, and I think on the players' perspective, I was talking to Dave Hunziker, who's the voice of the Cowboys, and he was saying that what Mike Gundy would tell them to do and what they're all preaching them to themselves is just go do your job. No one cares about your feelings. Put your head down, go do your job, and the fans are going to be there to see that. And I think, yeah, they're just excited to see something different. And Doug Meacham might throw the kitchen sink out there. And I think any difference in the play that we've been seeing is going to bring excitement. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. What can you lose at this point? Let's just go see what we got. I mean, interim coaches sometimes provide that spark. So, yeah, we'll see if Meacham's got the spark.
How much was there any anti-Gundy sentiment on campus, or was he such a ingrained campus hero that really that wasn't the case? Even though you kind of wrestle with the reality of where the program is. People aren't going to say, like, look, we just need to throw Gundy out and who cares what happens after that.
Right. No, there definitely is a big majority of people on campus that I think were anti-Gundy, or at least anti-Gundy as in we don't want him anymore. Not anti-Gundy, we don't like him and what he's done for the program. But who was anti-Gundy was the head of the Board of Regents last year, who was making a big move to try to get him out at the end of the last season. And he made a really big push. They had lots of meetings behind closed doors, all these things, and it didn't work. But so there's been an anti-Gundy sentiment for a long time, and I think the fan base has picked up on that. And I think everyone knew it was only a matter of time. So there definitely is a little bit of that anti-Gundy feeling for sure.
So, Alyssa, is Zack Robinson the name that everybody says, or are there some others that, I mean, there's the hot lists that are out there, the hot, coaching carousel list and everything, but does it feel as much on campus like the majority of people want this one specific guy, or is it a little bit more mixed?
Yeah, I would say it's mixed. I would agree with you there that the heavy favorite is absolutely Zack Robinson. The only thing I've heard of just concerns there is like, what does the timeline look like with the NFL, and would he be able to translate his type of operation from the NFL to college football, being that he doesn't have any college football experience. So I think people are excited about his name because they think that he can bring a lot of big names with him, and he can bring the big players, the big recruits that Oklahoma State truly needs. But yeah, Zack Robinson's at the top of the list. Other than that, I've heard a lot of GJ Kinney from Texas State. I mean, he's had that great success there, and he has a sort of tie to Oklahoma State. He was quarterbacking at Tulsa, so he has like a regional tie there. And then just Alex Golish, I think, is another name that people are hearing from South Florida. He was a GA under Gundy in 2008. So a big thing that Chad Weiberg has talked about, and he was asked about, is if having Oklahoma State ties is something that they're looking for, because that's something that they've historically hired people. They're looking for someone that's been in the program before. I mean, obviously we see that with Doug Meacham having been there. And he said that's not the only factor, but it's a factor. So I think whoever it's going to be a guy that has Oklahoma State ties. And yeah, right now Zack Robinson's at the top of the list, but we'll see where that goes.
Alyssa, Chad Weiberg until Monday or Tuesday was working without a contract, and they were working on that. And the initial report from Pete Thamel that came on game day on Saturday said that the highest levels of the athletic department was going to be a top-down thing. Well, that only turned out to be half true, in that Chad Weiberg got his extension and then Mike Gundy gets fired. How much do you think Chad Weiberg getting that extension was, here's what we're going to have to do with the football program, and it starts with firing Mike Gundy this week?
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting with the Chad Weiberg conversation, because he was asked about it in his press conference, and he said that his first kind of correction was, that's not what I'm here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But he also did say that it's not done and he's not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
So as from here in Stillwater, he said that it's not done, but he's not concerned that it won't get done. So I think that's just another factor there that we'll just have to see.
Alyssa Brandon, Ocali TV. Alyssa, thank you so much. You did a great first debut segment with us here on 365 Sports. Enjoy the game this weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
I appreciate it. It was really good to be on, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, Alyssa Brandon, Ocali TV there, and Craig. We've been sitting on this Chad Weiberg video or comment for a couple of days. And so now's as good a time as any to play it as soon as Brandon's ready to have it. But set up like what he was talking about and why it's a very, very interesting comment when it came to Coach Gundy in the future of the program.
Yeah, so we've had this since Monday, and we just got busy and didn't really have time to play it. And it's just a clip where Chad Weiberg is taking questions after having his press conference, and the media is hitting him with this and that. And at some point, I think the question is a part of the actual answer that I sent. So you should be able to hear that, I do believe. But we'll hear in a second. But yeah, basically gets asked about like the timing of everything and the importance of this decision, not just for the now, but for the long term. And realignment comes into play when it comes to his answer. And I'll just expand further because I want to make sure of what we got here. So here's Chad Weiberg at the press conference announcing Gundy's firing, taking questions from the media, but also kind of letting you know that this decision is not just about Mike Gundy needed to come to an end. It was like, it's also about what's happening here moving forward. So here's Chad Weiberg, Oklahoma State AD.
Before the 2024 season, you just speaking to what Gundy accomplished, you mentioned that throughout your tenure, you felt confident OSU is far above the cut line in terms of, that's what you called it, the big picture of college football. Do you feel like in the last year and a half, the margin y'all had above that cut line has shrunk? And does that make this search now even more critical?
So I believe that we are in a window of time here that is critical. Television contracts for conferences will be coming up in the next 5 years, and that has typically been the trigger for conference realignment. And so I think we are in a critical period. And I think winning is a big part of setting yourself up for success in whatever happens, right? And so it is important that we get back to the standard of Cowboy football. It's important that we make a really good decision with the hire, and it's important that we get behind him and support him at a level that he can be successful with this program.
So there you go. There's Chad Weiberg being asked about a few years ago, just commenting, or I guess within the last couple years, all this realignment change. You have the Pac dissolving to some degree and a bunch of their teams joining other leagues. And now we know that there's been the constant teasing of 2030, 2031, when all of these contracts come up nearly simultaneously, not quite across the board, but they're lined up enough that it's intentional that they're all lined up around the same time period. So I just found that very interesting that he acknowledges that, like, yeah, this is not just about Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. We also have to make sure we stay, or if not stay, but like don't lose any ground on where we are, because he mentions a cut line. He mentions a critical window of time, and he's right in that the trigger for realignment is typically TV deals coming up, and that's why everybody's got circled that 2030 start date for some of these contracts to be reworked, and the possibility of this team going there and to and fro. But I just, when I heard the phrasing of like the cut line, it made me think of like, if you're Oklahoma State, you're not guaranteed jack squat, buddy. Like, no. It depends on what the formation of this thing, if there is a formation of anything, that we also don't know. Like here in 5 years, everybody could sign their new TV deals, and it's pretty much just the same thing, but the numbers are different. Maybe a couple of moves around, like Florida State maybe is now in the Big Ten or something like that. But what if it isn't that? What if Cody Campbell gets his way and it's this much different looking animal on the other side of it? What does that look like? What if there is whether it's from Cody Campbell's side of the aisle or it's the kind of keep it the same way it always has been, but they reach this middle ground where it's some Super League formation of some sort. Are you sure you're in that if you're Oklahoma State? It would depend on the details. Like, are we including all the power schools to start off with, or are we saying this is a real deal Super League, like only mega matchups are allowed and maybe Indiana gets allowed in, but not everybody in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe Mississippi State gets in, but not everybody in the SEC. Like that's where I have the differing opinion on what a Super League is. Yeah. I don't think there'll be booting out of teams, but if you're not in one of those two leagues, I do think with the exception of like a Kansas and maybe a few others, yeah, you're like, if there's a cut line,
yeah,
man, I don't know.
You're going to see them talking about like, we're in Phoenix, we're in this city, we're in that. So that's why we need to be here. Like those kind of things. The only thing that you can control is your effort towards winning. Yep. Now, winning itself also not controllable because everybody else is competing. But your effort towards it is the only thing that you can control in these things. And so what Chad Weiberg is saying here is we want to make decisions. They're going to make sure that we're putting the most competitive football team possible on the field in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Now, what that means in the long term, nobody knows at all. Now, so even though I don't think that like the grand shakeup in Super League is coming, because I just don't think that I don't think it functions in a way that is popular or particularly watchable for most college football fans. But you have to. We just talked about the NCAA and not being prepared for every eventuality when it comes to revenue sharing and all of that. Like what happens when a coach gets fired in the first month and all. Like we just talked about that an hour ago. And here we are. This is another situation. If Oklahoma State or any school making these decisions doesn't consider all possibilities about where you could be 5 years from now, you are not working with good leadership. Every possibility needs to be accounted for. And the only injection that you can really do is make sure that you're as good as you possibly can be. And you're making decisions that are commensurate to that and making competitive teams on the field year in and year out.
Yeah, I think it was an encouraging thing to hear. It's an obvious thing you should hear from an athletic director in his position, but I think it was encouraging to hear that this isn't some short-sighted, like, I'll just get my guy in here and that's that's all we got to worry about. It's like, no, there's very much a big picture that you also need to be at least aware of and somewhat concerned with. And so when he just, popped out that question about the future realignment and kind of this answer with the cut line and all of that, it made me just start thinking of like, yeah, he's got to be aware of that, because if there is a cut line, then Oklahoma State is not a program guaranteed anything, much like most of the others in the Big 12 wouldn't be guaranteed anything. I know there's some that feel like they are. I think Kansas, for example, because of their basketball program, can feel like we at least have a seat in basketball somewhere. And that'll probably carry us with football too. But really, I mean, I know Utah believes they're in the Big Ten in like 5 years. I'm not holding my breath on that one. And there's maybe a couple of others, you see the Texas Tech's trying to buy their way into the SEC type of thing. I don't believe that for a second, that's logically going to happen. Not that they're not trying it, but I don't think that the SEC is going to be like bought out for a spot for Texas Tech necessarily. But nevertheless, that's a different conversation. Point being, everybody's got to start looking at 5 years from now and going, that's the next iteration of whatever the hell this all looks like. And we better be ready for whenever that time comes for anything. And so that's encouraging that Chad Weiberg's thinking big picture, as he should be doing, but just to hear him publicly acknowledge it. And they need to be the best that they can possibly be. And he's right that whenever we've had these conversations about this Brett Yormark idea to create new money, or the Big Ten with their Venmo series or whatever, if you're any program out there that's not one of the haves and will always have because of what you did 150 years ago, the only really truly great step you can take outside of just having some trillionaire donor give you the world is to win. I mean, that really is that is the surefire way. That is the shortest path to anything you want to unwrap. It's all about winning. I mean, it truly is at the end of the day. So money can get you so far, but if Texas Tech doesn't win, or Ohio State or whoever, then the money doesn't matter if you're not winning. So the winning is what it all comes back to. And that's what can take you from being a team that's under the cut line to a team that's ahead of the cut line if there ever is a cut line.
Yeah. Ask anybody. Sugar daddy money doesn't last forever. I say ask anybody, but I mean, sugar daddies don't last forever, right? I mean, they pass away. Like Oklahoma State knows this really well because they had T. Boone Pickens, whose biggest passion in life outside of being an energy billionaire was Oklahoma State athletics. And then he passed away. His family doesn't share the same exact enthusiasm as he did. And that's fine. Everybody's going to be different. But again, those things don't last forever. Like if Texas Tech has all these people spending all this money and it doesn't work out, not all of them are going to keep spending the money. They're just going to be like, well, I'm going to go buy an amusement park instead.
Yeah, this doesn't always work because I'm sure there's some Boise State fan out there going, well, we want as much as anybody. We're spending the money. Well, I hate to break it to you. That's just there's different set of rules sometimes depending on what school you are and how big you are and all of that. So Boise State's done what it can by winning as much as it can, and they've donated as much as they can. But because I think of where they started, it's just a much more difficult uphill climb. We'll see ultimately. But, yeah, I just found it interesting that he talked there about, the little deadline, or not deadline, but the little line approaching here in the next 5 years where everybody's going to be reworking their deals. And as he said, if there's a trigger for realignment, it is TV deals coming back up. That's what always is the predecessor to it. That's what happened this last time. And so that's why I think we've had kind of some ridiculousness over the last couple of years of projecting so far ahead that it's obviously just very much just BS in some cases, but there are a lot of realistic base points in some of these conversations about the SEC. Not that Miami's joining the Big 12 tomorrow, but could they have no choice in 5 years and they kind of have to join the Big? Yeah, possibly, but it's not happening tomorrow. Like there's not that sense of urgency, but there is a sense of urgency for Chad Weiberg and everybody else of like, here's your warning. You've got 5 years basically right now. You got 5 years to get your S together. And if you don't have it together by 2030, then you're SOL.
Yeah.
And so if you don't, that's nobody's fault but your own. And so Oklahoma State, I think, is in good hands as far as knowing that, like, yeah, we got to get this hire right. We got to rally around each other, and we got to put ourselves in the best position we can because we're guaranteed nothing, whenever the next big decisions are made.
Yep, absolutely. Again, just be a win. Do everything
Simple
you
as
can.
that. Win.
Do everything you can to win. Make sure that all the other things around it are prepared for all eventualities. But win and make sure people, are scared to play you. Like if they're scared to play you, then you have a reasonable seat at the table.
Yeah.
But if you're a team where people are like, do we need this? Like, we
already have the Oklahoma City market with OU here, kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Or is Oklahoma State like a cool ass program that you're like, no, they got to be a part of this thing.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not even that decision to be made again. Maybe there's no contraction, although we've seen contraction. I mean, you're looking at two old Pac programs that are struggling mightily right now. And it's noticeable. And so that's the fate that you want to avoid if at all possible. And those schools, even though they're struggling, there's a bunch of them that are about to join them that feel like they're taking a step up, and we'll see what they can do in the next 5 years. But ultimately, for the new Pac or whoever it is, the only thing you can do to boost your stock is to also win.
Yeah.
Money only takes you so far, and if there's no winning on the other end of the money, then the money's just money, and it doesn't mean nearly as much as money that led to you winning a bunch of big games. So, yeah, there's Chad Weiberg. Just found that comment, just kind of just big picture interesting when you start to think about how important this hire is for Oklahoma State and subsequently for Virginia Tech. I mean, they're not in a much different position. UCLA's, they're grandfathered in basically to whatever would happen. But, maybe those programs are as well. Maybe they're all going to be fine, but I don't think anybody knows for sure, and that's why you got to make sure.
Well, and look, UCLA, because they are grandfathered in and they're in LA and they're in the Big Ten and all that, they're going to be one of those teams that until they get their leadership right and what they want from their athletic department and their football program right, is going to feel like an NFL team like the Browns, that you're like, well, you've got people who care, but I'm going to say the Browns fans have been extremely loyal in spite of, getting crapped on for most of their existence.
Right.
But, I'll say, oh gosh, I mean, there's there's probably not a fair NFL comp because the NFL is kind of its own thing, but like the Pirates, where you've got this fan base that really loves the Pirates and really wants them to do well, but you've got an owner who's like, if you guys draft Paul Skeens, that's great, but I'm not going to try and help him.
Right.
Like he needs to figure out a way to split at the cellular level and make 5 of himself. Otherwise, we're just going to keep, doing that. And that's where I think it's disappointing when it comes to college football realignment is you will have teams that, always kind of seem to fail upward without as much effort as schools like a Boise State or an Oklahoma State or a Virginia Tech that super care and do everything they can to be at that, but they don't have this fallback of resources that they can just say we'll figure it out later.
They don't have $3 million in their metro area and like that kind of a deal. So yeah, it's a mystery as to what awaits us here in the early 2030s, other than there will be a bunch of new contracts signed. But if you're Chad Weiberg, you better get this hire right, because Oklahoma State's at a low point right now, and there's going to be this new fresh optimism for the next few weeks, even if they lose, because, hey, we're getting a new coach soon, so that's all we care about. Have fun with that. Take advantage of that. I'd be very cautious if I was Baylor rolling into Stillwater this weekend. There is a huge talent disparity, but still, I just think there's going to be the potential for a very interesting environment. If you fumble a punt early on or, throw a pick 6 real quick and all of a sudden it's like 7-0 and this crowd who has no reason to believe they're winning this game suddenly has a reason to believe they're winning. That's when crazy stuff happens. So that's what you've got to avoid if you're Baylor this weekend in particular, fresh off of that firing. But we'll have plenty of talk about the future, but that was just one AD acknowledging that, the timing is there and the mechanisms are there to where you better get your ducks in a row. So,
next up, Josh Neighbors College Countdown. After that, we'll go through some of the big dog games. We're going to do the wheel and trivia at the beginning of the 5 o'clock hour today. Then we've got Zack Gelb at 5:20, and then top 5 in the polls before we say goodbye. This is 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat is closing out the month of September. Stellantis just stacked on more bonus cash. Right now, grab a 2025 Ram Lone Star Crew Cab V6 with an extra $1,500 retail bonus cash on top of all the discounts and rebates out there, plus 3.9% for 72 months financing. And don't forget the Jeep Wrangler Sport just picked up an extra $1,000 bonus cash stacked on rebates. Even better, 19 Rams ready to roll. $1,500 bonus, 14 Wranglers lined up for an extra $1,000. Don't forget now, this deal ends at the end of September. 0% financing for 72 months for the 2025 1,500 trucks, all of them in stock, ready to roll. 0% financing for 6 years. But hurry, the offer ends when the month ends at Allen Samuels. How about $13,500 off and 3.9% for 72 months at a brand new 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star, or lock in 0% APR for 72 months. Huge savings, low financing, trucks built to work as hard as you want them to and as hard as you do. These deals won't last forever. The month-end blowout sale through September. Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where underdog fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
65 Sports. It's Friday. That means our buddy Josh Neighbors. And Josh, there was a minor stir of news in Stillwater, Oklahoma on Tuesday. I mean, I don't know if you heard about it. It was very underreported that there's going to be a new coach next year for the Pokes. Mike Gundy, and I liked the way that Dan Wetzel phrased it on ESPN.com of he dug his heels in and eventually everything kind of passed him by. There's another coach we're going to talk about in a second who appears to be doing a similar thing, and he's been wildly more successful than Mike Gundy, who is great. But your thoughts on what's next for Oklahoma State and where Gundy went wrong?
Yeah, I would say since the season where they went to the Big 12 championship game and played Baylor, things have not been excellent there. And I think not saying the title year where they played against Texas was an aberration, but Ollie Gordon was fantastic. But we all knew Alan Bowman wasn't that good. And the fact that, the Spencer Sanders thing rubbed me the wrong way. The Bowman thing, just running them back out there rubbed me the wrong way. And they really just refused to adapt and get better. And he kind of did the same thing as a person, too. There's a certain group of people that like Mike Gundy, type player that wants to play for Mike Gundy. But that group of player gets smaller and smaller as time changes. And I think that can be said for a lot of coaches. I think that's why you've seen so many coaches exit. Nick Saban, Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Coach K. I mean, across both sports, You know, you've seen some coaches go from head coaching, like Gus Malzahn, Chip Kelly, in the head coaching, ranks going back to being coordinator. It's harder, and like you need to you need to adapt or find a new place to be to make it work. And Mike Gundy wouldn't do that.
Yeah. What would you do if you were them in hiring a coach? Are you like Zach Robinson is the fan favorite because he was their quarterback. He's been successful in the NFL. He even in spite of what's kind of going on right now in Atlanta, he still his star is on the rise there. And that's somebody they could get right now. Or do you go with somebody who has more recruiting experience that could maybe run a similar system? That's not, and again, it doesn't have to be a former quarterback being the head coach.
I mean, like it depends. Once again, it depends on how much money they have. I would target Zach Robinson. I think it's good. It doesn't have to be that guy, though. I mean, I think it just so happens that there is a young coordinator who happened to have played quarterback there that could be helpful in that way. But I think the idea, like the other reasons that are not Oklahoma State related, why you like Zach Robinson, are the reasons why to hire somebody. Those would be the kind of that's the bill I'd want to fit. That's the type of person I'd be looking for. So it didn't have to be Zach Robinson. Maybe he satisfies everybody's thing, but the idea that has to be somebody like from a program. Like I never buy that stuff, Paul. And I think you're kind of with me. Like it doesn't have to be that kind of person. Now, a Texas like adjacent person or somebody from that area makes sense for recruiting wise because it's such a over recruited area, and having connections and knowing coaches who can help you identify lower level talent that you can develop and become your really good talent is something that's massive and good to have. And so, yeah, that might be why you want to do a regional type deal. But, I think the concept of what the type of coach they want, it kind of stays the same with a young offensive mind, a bit more progressive, right, to go against the old. And Mike Gundy was offensively minded, but the last two really good teams he had ran the ball and play defense. So, I think maybe flipping the forte might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody, is making this comparison, and it's a fair one. Dabo Swinney is the more successful version of Mike Gundy. Like they're very similar in philosophy as to how to build a program, loyalty to recruits, like all those things. It's kind of all the same good and all the same things that are antiquated that they have about them. They're both really good coaches, but you can see now, like what's going on at Clemson was kind of what was going on at Oklahoma State the last couple of years. And if Dabo doesn't change, he's going to find himself in the right spot, because when you start yelling at fans and going on tirades and press conference and all those things, it usually doesn't end well. Dabo will have more opportunity, I believe, than Mike Gundy will in another spot. But if he's not careful, he's going to wind up in the same exact spot.
Yeah. When was the last time somebody was like, fire me? And it's like that ended really well. Like that was heading the correct direction. And look, there's a reason why they were considered to be so good. It's not like they're getting killed. They had a close loss in a game they were leading against LSU. And then, Georgia Tech's been a giant killer, for Brent Key, for a while now. But it's just, my thought is for Dabo, like, I'm not in the building, so I don't know. But if you're not being more adaptive in like the portal ways, like what other ways are you not being adaptive? Are there other things that you're not willing to try that are costing you? Because I think if they just keep giving the portal a try with how well they recruit, they're going to end up getting good rosters year in and year out, and being able to add pieces to maybe finish it. Like that's roster building is trial and error to some extent. Yeah. And you don't give yourself the best chance to build if you cut yourself off of possible pre-developed guys. They kind of, the portal makes talent eval a lot easier because some of these guys are not 18 anymore. They're not 17 anymore. You get like fully formed players to get. And to cut yourself off from that for what reason never made sense to me. And look, they're doing it now, and I bet you give him more bites of the apple, he'll be fine. But what other way? Are there other ways in that program they're cutting their nose off despite their face? I don't know that, but there could be.
I'll tell you, I don't think it's necessarily a talent issue that they have right now. I think it's maybe just a program-wide leadership, chemistry, like all those things issue. And sometimes the message goes stale. I think that's what happened with Gundy. I don't think that he's a worse, like, I don't think he and Dabo forgot football or forgot how to do certain things, but you do, like, eventually the message gets tired because generations change. I mean, just you are quite a bit younger than me. We are more similar than we are different, but I'm sure there's some things that I put up with that you would be like, no, I don't like that. I don't get the, like, I didn't grow up that way. I don't like, this is not how I jive with things. So again, like, 45-year-old Paul, 28-year-old Josh, like it's different.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess a good example of this, like on the radio show I work on, the two guys are 60 and one played for Arkansas. One guy's, a lifelong entertainer. And they're big Elvis guys, and they're like, "Why wouldn't you go to Graceland?" And I'm like, "Cause I've got like no interest in Elvis. I don't have much relationship to Elvis. Like, my version of Elvis is Jack White and Dewey Walk, doing the Elvis impression. He's like, "Oh, Memphis," like that's my Elvis. And they're like, they couldn't fathom why somebody wouldn't want to go and see Graceland. And it's like, fellas, because like I don't like that's not my thing. Like Elton, I'm an Elton John fan because my mom. Like even that's a bit of a stretch, And so like there's some things where definitely I think it could be tired, and it kind of goes back also to the comment he made, like I'll quit when kids get paid. It's like, man, he's always been a used car salesman to me, and like look, a pretty successful one. You know what I mean? He's had the best dealership for years, and best used car dealership around for years, but. Like the idea that you were going to quit taking a $10 million check a year because kids are getting paid too was ridiculous. And then the idea where it's like, we built our program off of God's name, image, likeness. It's like, dude, you are such a fake sometimes. And I think kids might see through it now.
Well,
it is fake.
Well, and the thing is that, okay, if I'm thinking about going to Clemson and I just look him up online, I just want to say, okay, let me see what this guy's like when he's not trying to get me to come to his school. And I look up some of those things, the coaches who are that corny, I'm going to be like, do I? Like, he's got maybe a little bit more work to do than he used to, And look, again, I'm not telling him he has to change. I'm just saying that, like, people change around you.
But he does.
And you have to adapt.
But like Nick Saban's like, I'm not going to want to change, and he's like, I'm just not going to do it. Like I can get paid a lot of money doing something else, and I love the process, but like I can't change my process. It's just going to frustrate me even more.
Yeah, so, you're only acceptable with a certain amount of change at a certain point. Like,
yes,
I'll accept this, but like when it gets that, like you can't. And again, you can't stop the ripples in the water.
My girlfriend and I were talking about this last night. I forget the podcaster's name, so I can't give him credit, but it's a kind of self-help type deal.
Yeah.
And it was basically talking about how, like, in when you become an adult and you make an adult friendship, like either you can tolerate some of the things that you don't like about people, or they're not your friends. Like if you and I were lifelong friends, Paul, like you can have a lot of problems, but if we've been boys forever, it's like, well, Paul can't be helped, but man, we've been in the, we were playing kickball together since 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's different. And so I think that's kind of the people side of it, where it's funny because so much of the sport is narrative, and you think that these coaches would understand that. And like, they're so unable to change the narrative around themselves, where it's like half this thing is like myth making. It's like Kevin Sumlin got paid a lot of money, like, because he stopped being a good coach when he left Houston, and like people were just like, they couldn't tell. There was nobody could tell he was a bad coach, and everybody convinced. And to his credit, And so I think that these people have a tough time with the myth making aspect part of it sometimes.
Yeah. All right, let's run through a couple of the big games this week. Georgia and Alabama is very intriguing. I think Alabama's kind of fixed their direction. I don't think they're as good as they would like to be, but I don't think that, let's set fire to Alabama and they're going to be 6-6. I think this is probably an 8-4 team, 9-3 team at best. I don't think they're 6-6, but I think Georgia and Gunnar Stockton might have shocked a lot of people with how capable they are on offense against Tennessee.
Yeah, for once when they played Tennessee, they had to be, they had to be more competent. Yeah. So like the spread's 3 here, and or at least last time I checked it was 3. It might be different now, whatever. But like the fact that number is that low, I think it tells you that like the metrics and stuff still like Alabama, and their roster is still really, really good. And And I would not be surprised if Kalen DeBoer starts to get more out of this roster. I do think it's an upper, especially at receiver. Like this is an upper end roster they've got at that position. I think if Ty Simpson can be on time, this is a competitive game. But this goes to where's the game being played, Georgia, and which quarterback I trust more. And that's Stockton. But man, I mean, I like a lot of the weapons that I'm higher on Alabama than most people are. I think it's pretty fair to say.
Look, you know, I thrillingly watched FSU beat them. I watched every second of that game. I watched a little bit of it again and fast forwarded through some of the junk. And when I was watching Ty Simpson in that game, I thought, man, this guy's he's right there on a lot of these things.
He's just off. His timing was bad.
His timing was bad. Well, because FSU made it bad. Sometimes people are like, oh, Ty Simpson sucks. Well, maybe no, he doesn't. Maybe the other defense just had his number that day. I'm a huge baseball fan, and I can't stand when people are like, oh man, Randy Johnson sucks now. Greg Maddux sucks now. And you're like, why? He's had 2 bad starts in a row. Yeah, he has 36 starts a year. Sometimes he's going to run up against a lineup when he's tired, or they just know him. They just did good work.
Playing the Phillies again. It's like us 10 to 15 times into this year, right?
Yeah. So sometimes the other guys just figure it out better that day. That's all. That's what
also is
a
road start against the defense that looks a lot better than we thought in his first start. So what was supposed to happen? Most guys suck in that spot. I mean, even Bryce Underwood, who I think you and I, Paul, are on the same page, and everybody's on the same page. That guy's going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
They kind of had to protect him a little bit against Oklahoma, I mean, in terms of they can't ask him to do everything just yet. And that's okay. That's okay sometimes,
Yeah. I think Alabama fans just got used to seeing a guy step in off of some assembly line, and no matter what his skill set was, they scored 38 points.
It was AJ McCarron, or it was it was a
Brody Croyle, Jacob Coker,
Sims,
all those guys. All right, Oregon and Penn State. This one, it's weird to say. To me, it's bigger for Penn State than it is for Oregon. Oregon's won games like this before. Penn State doesn't really do this, and they're trying to finally say, we have arrived and we can beat other good teams. We're not just going to go 10-2 and lose to the 2 good teams or 3 good teams on our schedule when we get in the postseason. That's their goal.
I thought they proved it in the Notre Dame game last year, just because they should have won that game to me. I mean, really, should have won that game. And they didn't use any wide receivers in that game, which was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. That they somehow should have won the game. But is it fair to be hey, go on the road and go beat Dan Lanning's Oregon to prove to us you're a great team?
They didn't do that last year, but
no, I know that they've lost enough big games where it's yes, eventually you need to go on the road and do that.
So at home, it's a whiteout tonight.
Oh, it's a home game. It's right. It's a home game. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're But still, it's a young quarterback coming to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this would be the moment, right? I mean, this would be but also they're going to get more bites of the apple even if they don't win this game because of the playoff. But you'd like to get this one just to prove a point. I mean, I'll take Penn State because they're at home, and I think Colton Nicky's really creative, and I think there's sometimes 3 or 4 plays that he schemes up a game that are the difference, and I think it will be.
Okay, how many alarm bells will go off if Kansas State loses to UCF on Saturday?
My relationship with Kansas State's complicated. It's at what point are you okay being Kansas one year? Does that make sense? Are you okay?
It's not going to be forever, but do you have to just
Kansas went 5-7 and got a $300 million donation to the football program last year. And look, they've got different expectations. I understand that. But sometimes they are a school that is all about evaluation. And sometimes that evaluation does not work. Same thing a lot of these Big 12 schools, it's like that. And this group, it's just not working. The offense just not working. On defense, they aren't as sound as they were before. So I don't know. The alarm bells will go off. But remember, Paul, a few years ago, they had that mass exodus. It's 21 or 22.
Yeah.
They lost a bunch of guys in the portal, and they still, I think that year that's the TCU year, maybe.
Yeah.
They beat TCU. So they'll go off. I'm skeptical that they should fire Chris Kleinman. I don't think it's gotten that bad. I don't think it's gotten that bad yet.
I think he's got enough street cred where he might have to change a coordinator or two.
Yeah, but that's hard to do. Like when you're a factory, like that's hard. It's really, really hard when it's like, okay, I've got to do it again. Like Kansas. Okay, Kansas has to replace a coordinator. It's like, oh my God. Like how do you do that?
Yeah.
And it's in K-State can be easier, but you had a homegrown guy in Colin Klein and he did a really good job and you lost him.
But that's part of Chris Kleiman's problem is that he developed Colin Klein as a coach. That doesn't happen on your own. He developed him. He went off and got a bigger money job. He's doing really well at that one right now, and they have another big game against Auburn. If they beat, here's the thing: the more points that A&M scores and the more big wins they get, the more Chris Kleiman, it's going to be like, well, where's the next Colin Klein? Like, how can we get that guy again?
Yeah, and I guess the calls for him to be
fans?
coach, the calls for him to be coach get a little bit louder too, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Hey.
So, because everybody wants their guy to be the coach. Well, Josh, enjoy the football weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Quick pick prediction on TCU and Arizona State tonight. I picked TCU in our official picks, but I don't feel great about it. It's going to be a really good game.
Might be really good. I think TCU might be really good.
Yeah. They might be really good. Do you think who do you got? You're going to take a home team
TCU.
or TCU? Okay. I feel a little bit better that there's more people of like mind. I think all three of us took TCU and all three of us on the show.
Hey, when Sonny Dykes teams are good, they they're good everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They really don't really care where they're playing. They're just we kind of do our thing,
Yeah.
But,
when Sonny doesn't have to yell that much, it's better. When he can just be kind of fun Sonny, that's the last
and
couple
they'll play
years
bad teams close at home. They'll play bad on the road. They'll play good teams close at home. They'll play good teams great in the road. They'll kind of do it all everywhere.
Yeah. All right, Josh Neighbors, College Countdown. Josh, talk to you next week.
See you guys.
This is 365 Sports.
IdealMRI.com. Business inside the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco on the southern part. And I have been to this business 4 times personally to have it, not treatment, but finding out what I need to stop pain, whether it's in my shoulder. Eventually, that was just torn rotator cuff. That was easy. Although the surgery, of course, was something I had to recover from after a few months. That was back in 2015. Ideal MRI. Their MRIs are $497 or less every single time. If your doctor mentions or brings up any kind of MRI, you bring up, and they'll know about Ideal MRI. $497 or less every single time, and their imaging machine is state-of-the-art to give you and your doctor the evidence they need, so they can then move forward the diagnosis to what the treatment is and or possible the surgery, and then the recovery, all of that. Every bit of instance that you need, every bit of evidence you need and want, you'll find for $497 or less at idealmri.com.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
To
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
Welcome back. Paul, Catalina, Craig, Smoak, Andrew, and Brandon are producing today. Garrett has the day off, and the boss man, Corey Dickman, in studio with us today as well. And Corey gets to witness in person the wheel, where we have instituted this week. It's a wheel that we used on the Triple Option Show for a while, but Andrew has put many topics. What? And Garrett. Andrew and Garrett worked on putting many topics on this wheel. We're going to do it at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. We've got a bit of a shifting around things that we normally do. So I'm going to spin it. We're never going to do a topic twice. Once a topic's there, they erase it and put a new one there. So today's topic will be the suspense is killing me. Hold on. Okay. Best sport to watch on TV besides football. Craig, I'm going to let you take that one first.
Professional wrestling, brother. No, best sport to watch. I enjoy hockey a lot on TV. I enjoy it in person as well, even though it's been a very long time. But something about, like, I've been watching a lot of baseball. It's good. It's fine. Like, if you've seen the game, though, kind of. Like basketball, I am really checked out on basketball right now. I'm not vibing with it. So yeah, I think hockey is my answer.
Yeah, hockey, you know what they've done with hockey over our lifetime, Craig, is it went from a very difficult TV product to maybe one of the more innovative ones in the way that they tried a bunch of things. I know that they don't do like the laser puck highlight anymore, but the way that they shoot the games, the way that they present the games, the way that they put broadcasters, and like the play-by-play guy and the color analyst are not in the same spot in 90% of the broadcasts. Like the color analyst is right down there on the ice giving their assessment. And that's different. You know, a lot of times, like, you know, football's tried that to have an analyst on the field, and it just because of the way you have to move around, you can't just sit stationary and do it like they do there. So I agree that it's the most evident. Mine would be basketball, but I'm a much bigger basketball fan than you. And so I love basketball, so mine's basketball. But look, I'm not far off on hockey, and it's probably, you know, I'm a huge baseball fan, as you know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the most exciting to watch on TV. I'll tell you, for me, it's the most relaxing.
Yeah. It's the best background you could have is a baseball game, and best casual Sunday afternoon, like just throw a game up and let it just kind of play out however it does. Yeah, baseball is great there, but yeah, it's not the most exciting product. And I know hockey too is definitely one of those, like, which sport's better in person. It's very much like NASCAR that you get you got to go to a game, you got to see it. And there's truth to that. But yeah, of the sports that I've watched here recently, that I enjoy the most besides football, it was this last year's Stanley Cup playoffs, I think, that pushes that answer in their favor there. So
yeah, I mean it is, and it's more and more fun. Look, I enjoy watching soccer on TV much more than I used to.
I love the big feel of like Premier League and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt like all of the history behind that sport, and especially certain leagues, the power leagues, if you will, Bundesliga and La Liga and Premier League and all of that stuff. And I love that they're various, like, I mean, there's so many, it feels like, different in-season competitions going on simultaneously with the regular season that it's kind of crazy. You got Champions League going on. You got like World Cup qualifiers. You got CONCACAF. You got like all this stuff. It's hard to keep up with, honestly, soccer is. But I do enjoy like just the kind of prestige of it and the history of it and the pageantry of it as well. I think it's very, very similar to college football. A lot of people have drawn those parallels, and a lot of people have drawn those parallels, even like a Bill Connolly, to the point of like college football should just follow soccer's lead. And it's similar in that 18-year-olds are now the next big wave of the future big players and stuff. So there's a lot in common there. And the pageantry part, I think, is another one of those commonalities that I really enjoy. I don't think I've just dove all the way into the deep end on soccer, but I totally understand why people do that and why that becomes like a second favorite hobby to them.
Yeah.
To adopt Liverpool or whoever,
Yeah, absolutely. But I just, I love college basketball. I enjoy, like, I wish the NBA season was a little bit shorter because the early part of the season creates no stakes for me. So it's hard for me to watch a game, especially now with the way that, and this is my favorite team that did this, but the Spurs, opened up the door to insert the cancer of, rest nights and all that into the NBA. But, Corey's a big Blazers fan. I know he watches the Blazers as many nights in a row as he can. But if I'm going to watch the Blazers when they're at their best and they've got this great lineup and then they're playing the Lakers, and then I find out that like, oh, well, LeBron's not going to play tonight for load management, which he very rarely does, to his credit. And then like, well, okay, well, if LeBron's not going to play, then we're also not going to play our three best players because this is a good night as any to do it. Then I'm turning it like I'm going to Broadway and watching the understudy. Like I went to go see Patti LuPone and I'm getting some random chick.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy the amount of fluff it seems like there is in the NBA with their schedule and everything. It just feels like there's guys making crazy amounts of money and just kind of loafing through like half of the season. Not that the players are necessarily doing, but you know what I'm saying though. It just feels like a lot of it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't really matter. All of these games are playing, like it matters only to so much of an extent. And I think that's part of my disconnect. Obviously the Luka thing really threw me for a loop and killed a good part of my fandom for at least the foreseeable future. It still feels like a betrayal. Get over it and all of that. Like I'm over it, but it was just such a done in the dark of night type of move. And I think it's a little bit rigged. Like, I'm sorry, the Mavericks getting the number 1 overall pick right after that. I don't think that was just luck. I really don't believe that for one second. You got the Adam Silver story out there right now about, the Clippers. And I just don't love the vibes I get off of the NBA necessarily.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of Hollywood studio to them where, pay no attention to the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Just watch the product on the court. And I wonder how many of our viewers got my Patti LuPone reference, but I'll just tell you the last time when I went to New York with my mom and we went to 2 Broadway shows, I didn't realize because we were going with my cousin. He said, let the show the band's visit. It's great. And it was fantastic. But when I got the playbill, I didn't realize that like I was getting the understudy until like after the thing, and I'm on the subway like reading it, and it was Tony Shalhoub was supposed to be the lead actor, and he wasn't there. So then I was like, well, that was awesome, but man, it would have been really great if I had seen Monk.
For sure. Yeah.
So and I feel bad for the actor now that did it and did such a great job, but he was off filming Mrs. Maisel and couldn't be there. So all right, we've got trivia questions now. Craig's been on a roll the last couple days after a bad day. So, okay. The Penn State whiteout is a signature event at Beaver Stadium, but in which year did the first official whiteout take place, establishing the tradition as we know it today?
Gosh, I don't remember or have the slightest clue on on when because I think there's importance. Can you just tell me yes or no? Because it's not going to tip me one way. Is there importance to the first official? Does that matter? Like, or is that okay? I wondered like if they did it, but it wasn't officially official to like 94 or something like that. So I'm just trying to figure out the wording here. But yeah, I don't have an idea, and it almost makes me wonder. Like, was it the latest one?
Is it 2004? Just because they never really did it.
It never was officially.
It was never official. I'm going to guess that. You want to guess that? Let's say 2004, because this is all that stuff is before marketing was maybe as big of a part of college athletics as it is now. I'm going to say 2000. Oh, there we go. All right.
Ding, ding.
There we go. So, Operation Visine.
Okay. Earlier attempts like Operation Visine to block out visiting Nebraska fans helped inspire the idea, but the first official whiteout occurred in 2004 against Purdue with over 20K participating. The tradition gained national attention in 2005 after Penn State upset Ohio State, cemented as a full stadium. Yeah, that's what it felt like, was that it was unofficial, but that like at some point we've now been hit over the head with how great the Penn State whiteouts are. So yeah, 2004. Oh, blue.
Okay. Yeah.
Say that again.
2002 when they wore blue. They were all blue.
Blue out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. 3 of these athletes not only won the Heisman Trophy, but also went on to play pro in other sports, NBA, MLB, or NHL. Which player is the exception who didn't achieve both?
Has to be Janowitz, right?
Herschel Walker didn't play anywhere else.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking of, no.
Yeah. So, Bo Jackson played in Major League Baseball, Charlie Ward in the NBA. And
I think I was just lumping Herschel in like right alongside Bo.
Because they're such like they're just generational athletes.
Like could have done anything in the world they wanted to do from an athletic standpoint. Yeah. Like just like generational athletes. Yeah, for sure. So I think it's Herschel Walker, unless we're counting like his later MMA career
or bobsledding events. He tried to be on the Olympic bobsled. I think he was in the Olympic bobsled team.
He's also been a politician, right? Like he's done a little bit of everything. But I remember him doing some MMA fighting at one point at like 50 years old. So I guess it would have to be Herschel, right?
Yeah. If it's not those 3, then I'm going to say Herschel Walker. There we go. Yeah.
Charlie Ward, Vic Janowitz, both won the Heisman. I played a different sport professionally. Ward in the NBA, Janowitz in the MLB, Jackson NFL and MLB. Outlier, didn't play in NBA, MLB, or NHL, but MMA and the Olympics.
Yeah.
And he was is a stud athlete. But cool.
He says he's never lifted a weight in his life. It's all plyometrics.
Great genetics and plyometrics, I guess. But I can't relate. That's for sure.
We had him on the show in 2020. I'll never forget that day as long as I live.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty normal on the show, but Herschel Walker is nothing. It's not normal. I mean, and I'm not trying to like belittle him in any way. I mean, he's a very different kind of
great time to just bust through the door like, somebody say my name.
It wouldn't surprise me. But that night, I was like 9:30 at night. My phone rang and it was him. And I was like, hello, Herschel. And he's like, hey, who is this? And I was like, this is Paul. We interviewed you earlier today on Sick'em 365. And he's like, oh yeah, that was fun. And then he talked to me for 45 minutes or an hour straight. I barely said anything. He talked about werewolves. He talked about like Georgia. He talked about a lot of things. And then we've never spoken again.
Well, you always have that conversation, I guess.
I do. And I remember he's running for Senate after that. And I was like, man, I'm really glad I'm not in Georgia right now. I have to make this decision.
The werewolf platform.
Because that was an odd conversation.
I could see that. Yeah.
And I just put him on speaker and, let him go. Just alone in my house talking to Herschel Walker. It was a weird day. It was a weird day. But I'll always remember that. So, Craig, we've got Zack Gelb coming up in the next segment. A couple of games tonight, Florida State and Virginia, which is in just under an hour in Charlottesville. The last time Florida State went to Charlottesville, they lost, and then Willie Taggart got fired. It was a couple weeks after that when they had like a completely dead home crowd. But Virginia stormed the field, Florida State lost. Florida State's got a complicated history in Charlottesville. They lost their first ACC game there back in the 90s. And Virginia's better. Should be kind of an interesting game tonight, I would think. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one.
Yeah, I mean, both are pretty good offensively. Virginia's 3-1 to start the season, so being there at home, I think that would aid in any upset efforts. It's a Friday night, although I think that a lot of programs are probably getting more acclimated to just playing on the funky night of the week where it's not just all Saturdays or bust. Everybody's kind of dabbled with that at some point. But, I think anything short of a Florida State win would be shocking, but it'd be one hell of a way to kickstart the weekend.
Well, and if Florida State gets upset, it's disappointing not only to me, but to a lot of college football fans who are hoping to see an undefeated Florida State and an undefeated Miami
of course
next weekend in Tallahassee, which would be just tremendous.
Which is why you also wonder, do they look ahead too far and start planning for Miami? And I think they are smarter than that.
I think they should know that you can't take anything for granted.
They should be very well versed and knowledgeable, and that you can't overlook anybody, especially somebody in your conference. So I mean, this ought to be a nice little game, and I think anything short of a Florida State win would be a shocker and certainly put a little damper on next week, although that'll still be a big game. But you don't want to see Florida State rolling there fresh off a loss. But Virginia, I think, can probably smell the potential for an upset because of some of the reasons that we mentioned there.
Chandler Morris at quarterback.
He's playing well, man. I mean, he's the guy who just doesn't seem to graduate. I mean, he's been on, this is school 3, at least, if not 4 for him now at this point.
4, because he was at Oklahoma,
Texas.
TCU, North Texas, and here. So this is 4th school.
Yeah, so he's very well experienced.
He's got one more school than Tommy Castellanos is UCF, BC, and FSU. So
I think that's all very ridiculous. I really do. Good for him. He's grabbed bags probably everywhere he's gone, and he's been able to continue to be a starter as opposed to riding the bench and having his career in that way. So that's why the transfer portal can be good. But he's played a lot of football at this point. And not a quarterback you can take lightly. He's actually off to a pretty good start this season, as Virginia itself is off to a pretty good start this season. Only has the 1 pick. It was, though, in their loss to NC State. But other than that, it's taking care of the football pretty much. You can run around a little bit, but not something that you really plan for necessarily a great deal in every game. But he can if he needs to. So
played the greatest game of his TCU career against Baylor.
He did, as most TCU guys do, it seems like. And so, I think that's formidable competition for the Noles, and we'll see how they react tonight to that challenge. But that's a nice little game for a Friday night.
Yeah, and they've had 2 games in a row of cupcakes, so they need this one before they play Miami.
And Virginia program, and honestly, I mean, they're looking at maybe being looked at a lot differently in the next 5 years. When we go back to our little realignment discussion from about a half hour ago with Chad Weiberg, talking about the future. I mean, I think Virginia is one of those schools that you would never in a million years necessarily mention them when you're putting together your super league. But when you're talking about further expansion and who the most delectable pieces could be that people could pick. They're not the first or the second, but they're in that short list for a lot of people, especially the SEC, because of their history and all of that.
Academic, they have everything going for them except being good at everything.
Right.
Everything else is fine. Speaking of TCU, they play tonight against Arizona State. We've talked about that game a lot. All 3 of us picked TCU this week, and none of us feel good about it.
No, I don't. And the line's down to 2.5. Arizona State's still a favorite. They're at home. It's a really interesting game. I'm hating that I'm going out of town. I'm not going to be able to watch the first part of it, but I'll definitely, depending on how the game goes, rewatch it.
It's at 8. You'll be close.
I'll be so. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just miss the first quarter before I get to my destination. But I think this ought to be a really good game. Josh Hoover's playing so incredibly well right now. I do worry a little bit about the TCU run game with Kavorian Barnes being out. I think Arizona State's pretty stout against the run. But I think you feel good about Hoover's potential to throw around on this Arizona State defense. I think on the flip side, you feel good about Arizona State probably being able to run the ball on TCU. And we'll see to what extent Leavitt, who's been very hit or miss, can either be the guy at the end of the Baylor game last week, which also was just a complete busted coverage that made the biggest play of that, or is he kind of that same dude who got a lot of offseason hype and he's just playing pretty okay to pretty good at times? Certainly he's not playing quite at the level of Hoover just in terms of efficiency and overall, but he's still very talented quarterback. And again, he and Tyson and then Hoover and McAllister, two of the best quarterback wide receiver combos in the country, especially in light of TCU's performance last week with McAllister just going insane and having a touchdown that was taken off the board. But yeah, this is a great game. Two contenders in this league, and somebody will be a step ahead and have that tiebreaker if it comes into play later on down the line. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one. But I don't feel great about my TCU pick, and I guess obviously the money's coming in on Arizona State a little bit there. But I also look at it as it's a toss-up. I mean, it really is. It's a toss-up. So I think you're going to get most league games are going to be like that. There's going to be very few that are like Texas Tech versus Oklahoma State, for example, or even Baylor, anybody versus Oklahoma State, basically. I think those types of games are going to be few and far between, and much more of them will be kind of your coin flip type of games. So this is a fun coin flip.
Yeah. By the way, exact opposite. Both these quarterbacks. Well, no, Sam Leavitt did transfer. I keep forgetting he was at Michigan State. Houston and Oregon State. Houston's a 13.5-point favorite on the road. That's a 9:30 kickoff.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be careful on the late night out west. I mean, weird things can happen. Little vintage Pac-12 after dark, although this is just a 9:30 kick, so it won't be super late. But yeah, Oregon State's just in a world of hurt, man. They are a program that's really suffered from going back to realignment once again. This last wave, I mean, really did a number on them, losing their head coach and their then quarterback as well. It was just like the double whammy on top of all that. And they've done their best to try to like gather their bearings and do the best they can with that. But I think as we talked to John Wilner about a few days ago, like maybe they've got the wrong coach, and that's problematic. And there's definitely some level of talent exodus. And right now they're 0-4. So Houston hopefully has not read the clippings about how Oregon State's not very good in this or that, because that's they're not good enough to just roll in there and say, oh, we're Houston, we're going to win this game. Like they're going to have to go out there and actually earn it. But if they play sharp, then there's no reason why Houston shouldn't be able to win this football game, in my opinion. So, yeah, I fully expect the Cougs to go take care of business, but they just can't sleepwalk, or else they could find themselves in a little bit of trouble.
Yep. Zack Gelb, Infinity Sports Network, joining us now on 365 Sports. And Zack, thanks so much for moving around this week, and glad we got to get you in. I've been very curious your thoughts on what is a two-part question here. What are your thoughts on Mike Gundy, and how does Dabo Swinney avoid becoming the more successful version of Mike Gundy and wearing out his welcome in Clemson, South Carolina?
Gundy, long overdue. Last year, I think the writing was on the wall. You lose to Tulsa at home. It's time for a change. It's time to bring in someone that's going to embrace what the new era of college football is, because it's adapt or die now. And Gundy is rooted in his old ways because he's established. So we'll see what his coaching future is going to be, if anything at all. So no problem that Oklahoma State did. When it comes to Dabo, the difference is the national championships. And Clemson is no longer an elite program. To Dabo's credit, the fact that they were even considered an elite program ever is something that is a testament to him. But he needs to stop kind of holding his nose so high up in the air when it comes to the comments he made about how his program is built on God's name, image, and likeness, which is, I know he's a man rooted in faith, but that's taking a shot at NIL. And then the resistance, even though he did a little bit with the transfer portal, because Saban even said on game day, if you don't change, then the game's gonna move on without you. So for Clemson, it's not just about winning the ACC, which you're not going to do so anyway. In the last 4 years, they've only won it twice. When you look at Florida State and then also Pitt sneaking on it and getting championships, this was supposed to be a year where they were going to win a national championship or contend for a national championship. And this is supposed to be Dabo kind of showing you, hey, his way can work in this new era. And not only has it failed, it's failed miserably. We're not even in October yet, and they already have 3 losses.
Zach, should a team that lost by 53 points be in the top 25? And I'm speaking about Illinois and their loss to Indiana. I mean, they're hanging in like the back 2 spots. I still just find it ridiculous that you can lose by 53 and be ranked. But also, what do you make of Indiana and Kurt Cignetti, who just kind of set the world on fire last year, got a thorn in people's sides, and they're back for more and not taking any prisoners?
I think that's the most surprising thing of the college football season, which is crazy to say because Clemson has 3 losses. Notre Dame has 2 losses already. Arch Manning hasn't played well. Like nationally, it may not be the thing people are most surprised with, but the fact that we all thought Indiana and Illinois was going to be a close game, and it was a blowout and then some. Hats off to Kurt Signetti. Now, as for the top 25, they lost me after the one reporter didn't have USF in and moved Florida up 2 spots when Florida lost to USF. So I've been done with the top 25. But I guess if you're looking for some consistency, Notre Dame was still in after they lost twice. So what Illinois last week I thought was 9. So that's why I guess they're still in. But let's be real. The AP top 25, it's like gum in my shoe these days. It means it's annoying. It's there. But in reality, does it really mean that much once you scrape it off?
Bama and Georgia this week. Were the obituaries on Bama written too early?
They were. I do think Georgia, I've been tossing and turning on this game. I lean Georgia by a field goal. I think more so the obituaries that were written on Ty Simpson were ridiculous. I didn't think he played that horribly up against Florida State, and him and Ryan Williams are going to have to explode for some big plays this weekend if they're going to want to win the game. For Kirby Smart, he got to go beat Alabama, but even if they lose, they're still alive to go win the SEC and win a national championship. But this is a huge moment for Kalen DeBoer, and even if Kalen DeBoer wins, I'll be curious what the reaction is from the fans in Tuscaloosa, because this time last year he beat Alabama, and one Zack Gelb may have put out a tweet saying, "Oh, Jalen Milroe is the Heisman favorite. Kalen DeBoer is the best coach in the country," and ended up on Old Takes Exposed, freezing cold takes. So even if Alabama wins, it'll be a sigh of relief if you're an Alabama fan. But then there will be some fans that said, "Oh yeah, I remember when they beat Georgia last year," and then lost to Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and then also Oklahoma.
Does James Franklin win this big game against Oregon, whiteout, at home, all that jazz? You a believer in the Nittany Lions against the Ducks?
I hope not. I'm not a fan of James Franklin. I don't like the bitching that he was doing about, now we have a night game and Fox wanted this to be a noon game, blah, 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 blah. Like, he's insufferable. I'll never forget when my Temple Owls beat him and he checked the PSIs of the football because he had no clue what hit him, and he stopped the game for that. Here's what I know. If they win, that's a victory for Penn State where it shows you, okay, this James Franklin, Drew Allard thing is more than just showing up, winning 10 games. You can actually go win a national championship. But if they lose, he'll make some lame excuse, and I don't know why there would ever be a reason to ever believe in this duo again of James Franklin and Drew Allard. This is an enormous game. It's a chance for Dante Moore to show that he could go win the Heisman Trophy. I like the Ducks to go on the road and pull off the upset in a 6-3 matchup. I'll take Oregon by 3 to 7 points.
I picked Oregon for just that. Like, James Franklin's have to show me that they can, especially on teams that are built to move. I mean, and Oregon is built for speed. When they play those teams, they've been unsuccessful. So, Zach, I agree with you. They're going to have to prove it to me before I buy in and start picking them.
And from the Oregon side, their run defense, like you saw Nebraska last week, their run defense was terrible up against Michigan with Marshall and Justice Haynes. You have the 2 great backs in Singleton and Allen for Penn State. Big key in this one is the Oregon run defense.
What are your thoughts on LSU and Ole Miss? Ole Miss playing with Trinidad Chambliss has been super fun to watch. LSU, not spectacular on offense, but their defense has been suffocating.
I like what LSU has done this year because of their defense. Like you said, the offense has been problematic. I look at this spread, and I know that Ole Miss is home. I would have thought LSU would have been a favorite. I don't only like Ole Miss in the game, I love Ole Miss in the game. I think this is a race to 23 points. The LSU offense has been sloppy. They can't run the ball. I think Ole Miss gets the 23 first, and I think it's a big victory for Lane Kiffin, and LSU ends up losing this one.
Zach, Micah Parsons makes his return to Dallas. Only 4 games into or 5 games into the season. The Cowboys are awful on defense, which shouldn't be shocking when they traded their best player inside the conference to a team that was already good. How badly does Green Bay beat Dallas on Sunday night?
Well, I'll be doing the game. I do pre-half and post for a few Cowboys games this year for the Compass Media Network, so there's a shameless plug. You can listen to the national call with Ted Emmerich and also Steve Berline and myself. I think the Packers are going to cover the 6.5 points. Dak Prescott makes $60 million a year. I know he doesn't have Booker, the offensive lineman. I know he's not going to have CeeDee Lamb in this one. If your quarterback is worth the money you're paying him, he's got to make it respectable. And that defense in Dallas right now has some problems. So it factors in to be a good bounce-back spot for the Packers, especially after they blew that game and knocked me out of one of my survivor pools last week to the Cleveland Browns. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a bad night for Jerry Jones, and I think it's going to be a good night for the Green Bay Packers.
So you're coming to Dallas then?
No, I do those games out in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just do pre-half and post. I would love to go to Dallas. I would love if they travel me for the games, but, don't want to get too greedy. It's my first year doing it, so I'm just going to do whatever they tell me to and see how long it takes me to outwear my welcome there.
Well, I've known Ted for a long time. He's a great guy. So you have a fantastic broadcast partner in him as well. Zach, thank you so much. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
You got it, guys. Appreciate it. Be well.
All right. Zack Gelb, Infinity Sports.
So if he had to choose a winner between Dabo and James Franklin, who do you think he would choose? To be his champion?
Probably Dabo.
I think probably Dabo, too.
Yeah.
I think he really dislikes James Franklin.
Yeah. He didn't like Ryan Day either.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think I just hear more vitriol in his voice when it comes to James Franklin.
Yeah.
I also think James Franklin, could win this weekend, and people will still be like, but when's he going to win a really big game?
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of reaching that point almost with James Franklin.
Look, I'll give him his flowers if he wins this weekend.
Yeah.
It's just the thing is that you can be an elite coach, a really good coach, and I'll just use the Kim Mulkey example. And look, she's actually won title, so this doesn't completely apply. It's not apples to apples, but Kim Mulkey loses the same way every time they lose. She doesn't shoot enough threes. The other team bombs threes. She doesn't guard the 3-point line. They play physical, and they get calls. That's what happens every single time. If you look at every loss of her career, every single game's the same way. It's pretty much the same way with James Franklin as well. When Penn State loses, for the most part, it's because they're playing a team like Oregon that is just built on speed. Ohio State,
yes.
speed, and they just can't run with them the whole time.
Yeah, I just think that he wins a lot, but I get why there's the narrative because you can't get over the Ohio State hump, or you can't do like this and that in the same year kind of thing. But it's like he wins a lot though, and so I'm expecting the reaction if Penn State wins. Like many predictions that I've seen do think that Penn State and the whiteout will reign supreme ultimately. But if he does, will he get a little bit of credit for that, or will it be like the next time they play somebody like Ohio State and say, hey, can't win the big game? What about Oregon about 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Not that big game. The other bigger games that, that kind of deal. But I understand the narrative and why it is, but I don't have quite the same vitriol that Zach does for him.
Yes. Okay. Something we're about to tell you right now, we didn't tell you before the show, is we have decided to shorten up our show a little bit. So from now on, we're going to be 2.5 hours instead of 3. Some days we may go 3 hours because there might be something that we're talking about, a big breaking story. But in order to kind of streamline the process here, everything we are doing is to streamline our processes and create maximum effect for our viewers. So we're going to shorten up a little bit, give everybody time to take a little break before dinner. From digesting us before you masticate and digest food.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just we're kicking around a lot of different ideas, doing things differently. Got new ownership here recently over the summer that's been really supportive and coming up with a lot of their own ideas. And just there's a lot floating through the air. And so to kind of shake things up a little bit, we're just tweaking the show time a little bit. So from now on, we'll still be on with you at 3 for the foreseeable future. I won't say that might not ever change too. Well, I don't know that, but I do know that, we're going to just chop off about a half hour. So you'll still get 2.5 hours, which is still longer than most any other show outside of like your typical radio show, but certainly longer than most college football shows that are out there. So I think that'll allow us to keep things fresh and keep our minds fresh and our opinions fresh and all that. And we're just going to try it and see how it goes. And like, if it doesn't work, then guess what? We'll be back to 3 hours. But we want to just kind of shake it up and see what it looks like on the other side of just taking a little bit off. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to start doing. And that starts now.
Yes, we are a little bit longer than we want to be today just because of scheduling and whatnot. But the top 5's coming up now, and then we'll do the polls when we get back. This is 365 Sports.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in old lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. It's Friday, people. It's Friday. You made it. You made it through another crazy week on planet Earth. Congratulate yourself by cracking a beer, going to flagandanthem.com using our promo code 365sports, and buying yourself a new wardrobe. Why not? You deserve it. You know you do. We're going to talk coordinator hires, the best ones this season. Number 5, Brian Harsin at Cal. Now, look, I understand that they got absolutely punished by San Diego State last week. That notwithstanding, JKS, Jaron Kiawe Saguputele, is fantastic as a true freshman, and that is due in large part to Brian Harsin. Tons of head coaching experience, tons of play calling experience, and really out to refurbish his name, although I don't think it needed much refurbishing after the debacle that was his short term at Auburn. He's a good coach. He knows what he's doing, and this is a great coordinator hire for Cal, especially bringing in a quarterback that was higher rated than any prospect that they've had in a very long time, and one who has a ton of potential, and we're only scratching the surface right now. Number 4, Gus Malzahn at Tony White at Florida State. Yeah, homer pick, but look, obvious. Everything's better so far there in Tallahassee. Gus Malzahn's offense is as diverse and crazy as it's ever been in his career, and that's due in large part to the fact that he's not have to be the head coach anymore. I feel bad for UCF fans who haven't seen plays called like this in the Gus offense for the last few years. And Tony White has brought legitimate thunder back to the FSU defense. They play with authority right now, and they can control the game just as much as the offense can. See the Alabama game. Number 3, Shield Wood at Texas Tech. I will tell you the big win over Utah last week can be laid almost, not completely at the feet, but in large part of the feet of Shield Wood. Texas Tech, if they won a game on defense in the last few years, it's because they made a key stop one time in the fourth quarter. It was just not their MO. They won that game on defense the other day, and that means scary things because if they can win on offense and win on defense, that's a team that can win the Big 12 and win in the playoff. And Shield Wood has changed the defensive attitude at Texas Tech to something that has not been there in recent human history. Number 2, Dana Holgorsen at Nebraska. Look, Nebraska fans can maybe have their beefs if they're not quite where they want to be, but it's year 3 of Rule. Things look a lot better. They lost to Michigan by 3. They probably should have won that game if they would have done some of the little things better, but the offense is not the problem anymore. They are dynamic. Dylan Raiola is getting better each and every week, and if they find a steady running game they can rely on to run the clock down, that will be huge for them moving forward. But Dana Holgorsen's been a fantastic hire for Dylan Raiola and that offense and for Matt Rule. And finally, number 1, Ben Arbuckle at Oklahoma. It's a sweep of OU at number 1 the last 2 days, but Oklahoma's offense has not looked like Oklahoma's offense since Brent Venables took that job. He needed a guy like this to do that, and that guy also brought John Mateer. Now, yes, John Mateer is out, and we're going to see how good a coordinator Ben Arbuckle is and what he can get out of Michael Hawkins, but best hire of the offseason, hands down, has rejuvenated Oklahoma in a way that I think their fans were desperate for and that Brent Venables really needed. So that's going to do it for us. We've got Andrew Valade's sprinkles. There we go. So we've already done some of the sprinkles. Now we do the last part of the sprinkles, which is the poll question. So TCU versus ASU, who takes the win tonight? 65%, Craig.
Hey,
so
makes
TCU.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I think in the office pool stop, I might have done what I did last week where I had my late week like change of opinion. I don't know if I picked Arizona State like I did with Indiana and who else was it last week that I changed my mind on? It's Indiana and somebody else, but this makes me feel better that we got the right original choice on our picks here on the show.
Yeah.
And TCU was my gut instinct. That's not always right, but it's doesn't fail me often. So thank you, audience, for making me feel better about my TCU pick.
Yeah, certainly. I appreciate that too. Next up, which do you think connects better with fans abroad, standalone events or nations competitions? Not the Olympics. Yeah, I think, yes, I do think it's nations competition.
Yeah, I think that in time you get to basically put yourself on a team, right, for your nationality reasons or whatever other reasons, then it always spices it up and adds some more fuel to that fire rather than here's these random college football teams playing across the street. Who's Iowa State and Kansas State? Okay, well, I'll show up and watch this American football thing.
Yeah.
Reminds me of our young soccer players. They don't go to college. They just go straight to to Serie A or, not that's, I'm going to start saying too many terms that the soccer fans will get mad at me. But I think the nations competitions are cool. See, the U.S. did not get off to the best start in the Ryder Cup today. But the Hockey Nations face-off was freaking awesome last year. And or was that earlier this year?
Yeah.
Whenever that was. So I'll go with that one as well.
Yeah, I agree. The U.S.
World Baseball Classic, spicy, man.
I love
They've made that thing out to be pretty good now.
Yeah. The U.S. in the Ryder Cup today, I think. I think the other team had better golfers, like I said yesterday. The other thing is they were like really worried about the presentation of this event at Bethpage today, and so there was a lot of stuff that I don't know, it just seemed a little bit more over the top.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I mean. Running out with a flag and the song and all that stuff. Man, just go win. Scotty Scheffler didn't win a point today. He's the best golfer in the world.
I like pro wrestling, but not everything has to have the pageantry of pro wrestling.
More too much pizzazz.
Hulk Hogan's Real American blasting in the background.
Yeah, I get
fireworks going off.
Keegan Bradley ran out to Inner Sandman. All right, great and all, fine, but I think they're maybe a little too focused on the little things and not the major thing, which is just make sure you get your point.
Right.
So that's going to do it for us. Don't forget about 365 Sports Night if you're here locally in the Waco area on the CW. That's going to do it for us. Full squad back together on Monday. See you, babies.